27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And there isn't one of us that doesn't want to be someplace else. This is what we do. Who we are.
Survive a war, you gotta become war.
Some people are really fucking stupid. Did you ever notice that? How many really stupid people you run into during the day? God damn, there's a lot of stupid bastards walking around. Carry a little pad and pencil with you. You wind up with 30 or 40 names by the end of the day. Look at it this way. Think of how stupid the average person is, and then realize half of them are stupider than that. And it doesn't take you very long to spot one of them, does it? Take you about 8 seconds. You'll be listening to some guy. You say,
for 10 minutes, take 0.
This guy is fucking stupid. Then there are some people, they're not stupid, they're full of shit. That doesn't take very long to spot either, does it? Take you about the same amount of time. You'll be listening to some guy and say, well, he's fairly intelligent.
If I had told you 8 years ago that America would reverse a Great Recession, reboot our auto industry, and unleash the longest stretch of job creation in our history, if I had told you that we would open up a new chapter with the Cuban people, shut down Iran's nuclear weapons program without firing a shot, take out the mastermind of 9/11.
He's full of shit. Then there are some people, they're not stupid, they're not full of shit, they're fucking nuts.
Joe Biden.
Is all three. All three. Stupid, full of shit, and fucking nuts.
Yo, Absolute1776 had me rolling with that pre-show. So welcome to Rambo and Frens. I am your host, Joe Rambo, and we have one hell of a show. Look, it's getting crazy out there, and I think that we're going to touch on a whole bunch of that stuff, freeform and on cave style, just like we've been doing on this show. I fully anticipate it being an absolute blast. We are going to stream Donald Trump's presser coming up in 22, it goes live in 22 minutes, but it's not for an hour. So we're going to live stream whatever it is Donald Trump wants to tell the world, and it's going to be awesome. So let's get right into it, because one of our guests' time is limited.
I wouldn't miss a chance to talk to my friends. These are my friends.
Every show, I freaking love it. Let's start with you, Stormy Patriot Joe. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing outstanding. Happy August 8th, everybody. Should be a wild, wild day today, I think.
Definitely feels that way. Paul, how you doing, dude?
I'm good, man. Yeah, it's been a day already, and it's just passing 1 o'clock on the east. I'm with Joe. I don't think we're done today, man. I feel like something's out there. Something's afoot. Something is awry.
I'd say, look, I was just telling you guys this before the show. It's something that we connected a while back. So there's no deltas on the 8th of this month at all. There's nothing on the boards that happened today. Yet these very large events seem to always happen on the 8th. You know, like the one I brought up pre-show was Hawaii, the fires in Hawaii. Today's the anniversary for that, correct? So I was last night looking at my phone when I was at work all night long thinking, I wonder what's going to happen tomorrow. And man, so far it has not been a letdown.
It's a 2-year anniversary of Trump's Mar-a-Lago being raided August 8th, 2022. And he's doing a conference from Mar-a-Lago at 2:00 today. Interesting.
That raid was awesome, wasn't it, Joe? Literally, Dan Scavino told us, what was that, the day before?
A couple 3 days before with the front door and all that. Yep.
Yeah, that was awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, Paul, you had a couple things you wanted to show. Do you want to do that first? Because I have all those other things pulled up, but for the sake of time, if you want to go first, I don't want to not do the stuff that you brought. So if you're down.
Well, I mean, Joe, it's Joe has limited time today, so we don't have to, we can get to anything he may want to, but this stuff may spur on conversation too. It's stuff we went over Tuesday on Eye of the Storm, but he and I have kind of been on the Rogan Hill for a while, saying this dude is gonna start red pilling even harder than he had been. And look, back in the day, he and I took flack for that because there were people that, plenty of people that were, and rightfully so, upset with Joe Rogan for initially refuting Pizzagate and not buying into it and all that. And then of course COVID happens and we saw how he just started dropping these COVID red pills. And ever since then, it's been absolutely insane what this dude has been doing. So I loaded up a couple Rogan clips for us to just kind of take a quick look at and see the stuff this dude's been talking about. It's pretty crazy, man. The first one I want to look at, because there's one more I want to upload while this one's playing, but this one is actually the longer of all of them. And it's Rogan talking about this. It's basically, he's talking about Operation Mockingbird and how out of nowhere Kamala Harris has been foisted up on America as an acceptable presidential candidate. So we can have a look at that one unless you gentlemen have anything you want to say beforehand.
No.
Cool. Let's have a look at it.
It all bothers me, the fragility of the human mind. That everybody forever was like, Kamala Harris is the worst vice president. She's the least popular vice president of all time. And then in a moment in time, all of a sudden she's our solution. She's our hero. Everybody's with her. All these social media posts about her. Try Googling a negative story on her. You won't find one.
So...
Ta-da!
Okay, you've got me started, Officer Harris. So they've been doing this live for years. So in 2019, our pal Tulsi absolutely nuked her in that second debate. And if you looked at charts at the time, she's kind of, Officer Harris is like doing okay. First debate, she comes out, Joe Biden, you're a racist. The Democrats were looking for an alternative to Bernie Sanders that wasn't Biden. She starts going up in the polls, right? Second debate comes out. Tulsi, being a good Hawaiian, knows how to roast the pig. Just completely slams her. Not only that, she has no counterpunch. She goes on Anderson Cooper and she's like, well, I'm a top-tier candidate, so of course people are going to take shots at me. That's her answer. She immediately starts going down in the polls. It's that day. You can see it on the chart I have on my Twitter. All the articles at the time that did an autopsy on Kamala Harris's failed campaign didn't mention Tulsi once.
Yeah.
It was BBC, LA Times, Reuters, New Yorker. A guy from the Washington Post just did a piece looking back on her campaign, didn't mention Tulsi either.
Wild?
They completely pretend it didn't happen.
Well, it just shows you that what they're looking for is not what they say they're looking for.
Yes.
Because she is a strong woman. She is a person who served overseas twice. She in a medical unit, so she got to see people blown up by the war. She was a congresswoman for 8 years.
Yeah.
She is a person of color. She's everything you want. All those things you want.
But
and yet you don't want her.
Because she's not for war.
Yes. Well, she's also just not willing to play ball. There's a game that's being played. And if you're like, hey, you're not supposed to fucking move the ball. Like, oh, look at this bitch over here. Like, get out of here. You're going to fuck up our game. It's not real democracy.
That was pretty recent. And it's interesting. Joe has internet issues sometimes. I'm sure he'll be back. But no, it's interesting that he that's basically Operation Mockingbird, how they've just hoisted Kamala into this position of all of a sudden being popular when she polled at 1% in 2020. It's ridiculous. And so the next one to roll, this one is pretty good too. This is Joe talking about exactly how badass Anons are over on 4chan. Let's have a look.
What the 4chan guys did was fucking amazing. This is what they did. Shia LaBeouf put up a flag that said he will not divide us, and then had a live stream where you could go and look at the flag as it's waving in the breeze. They found the fucking flag. The way they found it was genius. What they did was they found out where it is by stars. They looked at the fucking stars and they figured out where the area is. They went around. They had one of their members go around with a car and beat the horn so they could hear the horn on the camera. They went to the fucking flag, took it down, put a Make America Great Again hat on and a Pepe the Frog thing up there, and the guy walks up to the camera and goes, "Fuck Shia LaBeouf. These guys are animals."
We kind of are, man. That's not even talking about the airstrike the boards got called in on ISIS that one time. That was pretty impressive. And so the last two are fairly short, man. This one was from his most recent Netflix special, which I got to piece that onto that after this. Have a look.
It's good to see everybody having a good time. The country's almost back to normal before World War III. COVID was just so strange. We lost a lot of people during COVID, and most of them are still alive. Yeah, right? Right? Yeah, there's a lot of people that I don't fuck with anymore. Before COVID, I would have told you that vaccines are the most important invention in human history. After COVID, I'm like, I don't think we went to the moon. I think Michelle Obama's got a dick. I think Pizzagate is real. I think there's direct energy weapons in Antarctica. I'm just kidding. I don't think Michelle Obama's got a dick, but I believe all that other shit.
He does.
Oh, he totally believes Michelle Obama has a dick. And then the last piece, and this one appropriately enough, is 17 seconds long.
Let's show the video of Biden walking up the stairs of Air Force One. Walked a little too spryly. Zoom in this fake Biden.
Can Harris beat Trump?
It's walking pretty good.
I don't know. This is sad.
Or that's a 40-year-old guy in a suit. Look at those hands. Those are young hands.
I mean, you gotta love it.
This is why I'm so glad that we teamed up. I'm going to add something to your guys' compilation there. Joe, I know we're limited on time with you, but this literally goes with you guys. Check this out.
Speaking of which, how about that president? How about that Trump fella? How crazy is this? If there's ever been a real indication that we're in a simulation, it's like this season of USA is the craziest season that's ever existed. There's so many twists and turns, so many plots, so many villains, so many incompetent, bumbling fools that you're like, there's no way that lady's a heartbeat away from the president. There's no way. There's no way someone is not telling her to stop saying that same thing over and over again. What can be unburdened by what has been? Like, she just says it over and over and over again. This isn't real. This is writing. Someone wrote this. It seems like a script.
When a president that is giving a speech gets shot in the ear and then stands up and goes full John Bender at the end of Breakfast Club,
bro, he pumps his fist in the air.
That was a crazy
and says, "Fight, fight, fight." And when the fucking guy who's a photographer is a wizard. That guy who got that photograph, find out his name, because this guy's award-winning
with the flag above it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the angle that he got it, like where he was standing when he took the photo. It's one of the most iconic photos of all time.
Yep. I actually have two more, but I don't know if we have time for them all. But
just
Joe Rogan's
really. You want to rock through, man.
What's that?
Just roll through anything you want to roll through, man.
All right. Let's keep going. I got two more of these. Check this out. I mean, it's ridiculous what Joe Rogan's doing.
Wow.
Move in position of take it.
Wow. That's nuts, man. That's nuts. So you can see as the bullets start flying, this fucking dude doesn't even duck. He's still got his camera out. He's right behind Trump, and he's just got his camera out. That is so gangster. I mean, you want to talk about getting a shot no matter what? He's running around. There could be bullets flying his way.
Could be.
I would think you're holding up something black in your hand that's pointed at the president. You fucking should get shot.
I mean, the Trump story is right out of a movie. And I'm hoping
Oh,
Bro.
welcome aboard, Mr. Rogan.
Yep, last one. This is my last one. Hold on. Let me get this pulled up. Oh, well, I didn't plan on doing this, but you set me on fire over here. Check this out.
Secret Service ramped up security after receiving intel of an Iranian plot to assassinate Trump. No known connection to shooting. Oh, they ramped that up, and so they ignored the roof 150 yards away.
Yeah,
there's
so many things where you just go, what the fuck?
What the fuck, dude? All of it. And there's so much of it that seems fake, like the female Secret Service agent that can't holster her weapon. Have you seen this? She's like moving around all erratically, and she tries to holster her weapon. She can't get it in there, and she can't figure out how to put it in there. And she stops for a minute, and she just tries back to do it again. And it looks so fake.
Is she an actress?
No, it looks like an actress. Though.
Okay.
It looks like if you were going to have a bumbling person in a movie, like almost like a comedy of errors or a Coen Brothers movie about an assassination attempt on a president. You have this lady. Look here, watch what her gun. Look, she gets her gun out. She tried to put it in there. She couldn't do it. And she's thinking about putting it back in there. She finally gets it in there. Like the whole thing is like, look at her fumbling around. The whole thing is crazy. They're erratic movements. No one knows exactly what to do. It seems fake.
Yeah, that's an audition I could nail.
Yeah.
Look, everybody told me to shut up. I don't see anybody telling Joe Rogan to shut up.
Well, he's doing a little tongue in cheek there, but you asked, is it on purpose? Okay. And this is something that this is where I'm currently at. Okay. Q gave us a ton of comms that this event was going to happen. If you were following Eye of the Storm or my Twitter feed, we talked about it endlessly that event was going to happen. Even 2 days prior to the event happening, I happened to post a week to remember with the whole gun and everything. Like, believe me, 2 days later it happened. During the event, Abs and I went live and was showing that whole fight direct Q hit and about 20 more with the 611. 6 o'clock can be dangerous. Okay, we can go on and on and on. And then afterward, he keeps going back and he keeps hitting it. Okay, Trump and the Q board keeps hitting it, and then his ear goes from this giant bandage around his head to nothing. Okay, so my point is, yes, we could have done this a whole lot cleaner if that was what we were trying to do. I personally believe, like Rogan is kind of picking up on, that this was done in a way where, and if you look at the left right now, they're the ones that are asking all the questions. They're the ones that are like, none of this makes any sense. All these like normie or leftists are all like, holy crap, what did we just witness? And I personally believe that's what this was to drag people to the position that they'll look at events in a more objective way. They're not being objective in this scenario. That's not my point. My point is, if you can look at something and say, wow, that's not what the narrative is saying. Hello, that's all we ask is if you can look at a narrative and finally come to the position where I don't believe what the MSN is telling us about everything and going on, then you're much more susceptible to open up your eyes and ears of other things moving forward. So it is systematically collapsing the old guard. These people don't even know it. These people, they don't even know what they've been dragged to open their eyes to see. It's not really even about Trump, in my opinion. I really think this is part of the Great Awakening. None of that would have happened, and we wouldn't have been so purposeful about it. We wouldn't have had all these comms prior, during, and still going on afterwards if they didn't want us to know what's going on and help guide people through this Great Awakening. That's my opinion. And I think going into the next administration, we're going to get some declassifications around JFK. And who knows? Maybe it's 9/11. Who knows? Maybe it's X, Y, and Z. Whatever big, giant false flag, if you want to call it that, events that have happened that people will have to shift your mindset to really understand. I think this is part of it. That's where I'm at with all this.
Paul, before you go, I want to add this because I want you both to answer if you think that this logic if you think what I'm about to say is logical at all. The train of thought, does it make sense? Donald Trump has had very real assassination attempts on his life. You can think what you want to believe about the assassination, about that whole day. However, it is my belief that if you're not acknowledging that there's about 1,000 questions surrounding it, then you're fooling yourself, right? That is what it is. You can believe what you want. I'm not telling anybody what to think. However, if Donald Trump's had very real assassination attempts on his life, and he's the most protected man on the planet, and what we've watched up to this point is provably, to a level at least, a show, then how do you show the public that there's been multiple assassination attempts on Donald Trump's life? I think what they're presenting to us is very real. It's just being presented to us in a way that we can digest it and do exactly what you were just talking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Again, it's the war of narratives, like Joe said. It's the war of and I gotta say Stormy when both of you on screen at the same time. It's the war of narratives, like Stormy said. It's not accepting the first narrative that's thrown at you and moving on with your day. It's looking at what you're given and asking questions and digging to the truth. That's what's required. And I think I'm just like you, man. I'm not here to tell anybody what to believe with this instance, right? But I think it's awfully curious how I'll use Uvalde as an example. Uvalde happens, and within an hour, we're all tearing that thing apart and tearing that narrative apart, right? And getting down to the fact that that one was more than likely a false flag to either highlight how they want to go after our guns or drive that narrative, right? But when we get to an instance with Donald Trump, it's no longer okay to ask these questions about these anomalies that we're seeing. That's ultimately what I'm not okay with this. We're brought along to ask questions, but Trump's apparently the sacred cow you can't ask questions with when something happens to him. Ultimately, we want to our dude. The narrative says they took a shot at our dude. We want to find out what happened. Why can't we ask questions, right? So that's what frustrates me most about is we ought to be able to ask questions at the very least. None of us are trying to tell anybody what to believe or what they should believe. Just because we might believe something doesn't mean you have to go and believe it. That's kind of the point of this whole thing. Think for yourself. Find your own beliefs and opinions. That's but yeah, you nailed it, Joe. It's like if you can see this and not ask questions about what you saw, perhaps you're suffering from a little bit of cognitive dissonance. And I'm not trying to be a dick with that, but truth is what it is, right? It's you got to ask questions, man. I don't care what happens. You have to ask questions, and even if it makes you uncomfortable to answer those questions, that's another part of this: being comfortable while being uncomfortable. That's something we've all got to get to, man. And to the credit, I'm not going to sit here and shit on everybody. I've seen a lot of people asking questions recently about the assassination attempt, even those who were very hard up on the hill on the official narrative at first. I've even seen a couple of these people start to wiggle free and start to ask questions. So I like Stormy's stance that this is definitely a way to bring past attempts, whether it be successful ones like JFK and RFK and MLK Jr. or unsuccessful ones against Reagan and other folks. This is a good way to drag those into the public view. This is a good way to drag those past attempts against Trump into the public view at some point. And we've seen it with Trump enough to where the boomerang comes back around. I think the same thing is being built up here.
Go ahead, Joe. You have a thought, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, just the MSN is the enemy of the people. So anything that helps collapse and take down the old guard, whether we're purposely setting that up or not, that is it's one of the biggest pillars to come down in this whole movement. So I honestly believe that's part of the show here. That's what's going on. we showed a ton and ton and ton of comms prior, during, and after. Even Trump himself making all these jokes and pointing at the chart and saying, "Hey, does this side look good? And does this side look better? I like this side." He's totally trolling, totally trolling. You would not have that attitude. It is what it is at this point. We can't, like I said, we're not here to tell you what to think. But if it was just one thing, if it was just that cue with the fight with their fist up, okay, whatever. But I could show you 40 of them. If you have an open mind, you're ready to listen, I could show you 40 of them. And then you add on that he's making jokes. Then you add on that you can't spell the fireman's name right. Then you add on that the Secret Service lady is X, Y, and Z and is probably in the Q drops like Julian Rums found. You add on, I could go all day. I can go for all day on this. But I honestly believe there is a purpose here. Whether part of it was opening our eyes to all these flaws within the CIA and Secret Service and all these things, that's part of it. If it's just to drag normies into opening their eyes that everything they're told on a TV screen isn't the truth, that's part of it. And some of it we don't know yet. Okay, let's see where it goes. But none of this is by accident. We would have, if it was just, all right, we just want an attempt on POTUS so he looks awesome, we would have done it 100 times cleaner. We wouldn't have had all these mistakes. And like you're pointing out, we wouldn't have had, Melissa McCarthy or whatever fumbling around with her gun and all this, stand above the Secret Service for 2 minutes while having a freaking thing where he's in, a second shooter shot, standing up at his SUV and all this jazz. Let me get my shoes. Hold on. There could be bullets flying. They're expensive shoes. I'm a billionaire, but I really like these pair of shoes. Can I have my shoes?
Right.
None of this would happen. None of it would happen.
Bro, I'm not a Secret Service agent, and I can unholster and reholster my weapon in about 2 to 3 seconds.
Look,
without looking. And she's standing there like trying to find her holster and shit. And I'm just like, no. There's no. There's no way you even get out of the training course to be a Secret Service agent if you can't unholster and holster your shit without looking in a couple seconds. I can't buy it, man.
And that video distracted everybody, in my opinion, because right after she got done fumbling with her gun and everyone's looking at that lady, Donald Trump's car then pulls out past a truck and takes off, right? There's like 5 or 6 guys in camo staged behind that truck. A guy walks around the nose of the truck and cues them. So as soon as Donald Trump's black SUV leaves, they come around, guns pointed at the crowd, looking like they're invading somewhere. It was so unbelievably.
And then you had that one guy.
Ridiculous.
You had that one guy on the top of the roof with his fucking night vision goggles on. It's like, bro, it's late afternoon.
But that roof was way too steep for anybody to go protect.
No.
I saw it.
Only cows.
It was like this.
Yeah, only cows could have handled that, man. Only cows.
Yeah, the Secret Service would go up on a 1-inch pole standing 2 miles in the sky if necessary.
They could have hired my Guatemalan neighbor. That guy's on his roof every couple months cleaning off the gutters and stuff. That's a really steep slope. That's like that guy doesn't even mess around. He's got no harnesses or anything. He's just up there jogging around. It's actually kind of impressive. Like, all jokes aside, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I get up on mine a lot too. I change up my flagpoles and different things.
Full disclosure, I'm terrified of heights. I do not get on my roof, so I would not effectively guard a sloped roof. Why does that look like Pac-Man?
Because you know what? Do you know what Pac-Man eats? That's really funny. That blows my mind every time. So this is a good transition point. So you guys probably hear this all the time, right? I support Donald Trump. I love Donald Trump. I'm voting for Donald Trump. But Q's fake and gay, right? Well, Donald Trump went on a retruthing rampage this morning. All right. So, take it for what it is. But Donald Trump retruthed this. This is literally post 2039. And it's signed Q+. So, what are your thoughts, Stormy Patriot Joe?
Yeah, I said I made a graphic about this, and I said kind of like what you're saying. Take this graphic, and for those people that like aren't totally there, or they got to be ready to hear the message. There's plenty of people that just they're not going to hear the message. But if you have a friend that's wants to hear more, I get messages every single day that somebody says, "Hey, I got a friend. They're interested. Where do I start?" This graphic is like as dead on as I've seen. So I put it side by side. I put the real Q post next to that post and read both of them and said, start here. It's undeniable.
Well, here's another one. So in this one, it's a little bit more subliminal, but there's literally a Q plus on his shoulder, and there's a where we go one, we go all on the other shoulder.
Just go to Trump's Truth here and just let's scroll it together and see what we see.
All right, stand by.
There's all kinds of stuff today.
Give me a second here.
So yeah, he does a lot of stuff from the event on July 13th, and then really interesting, he does a retruth of somebody talking about actors being hired in Phoenix, where Trump just opened up another office. So let's scroll through a few of these. There's more, like Joe just pointed out. There's a couple of dead-on hits on the cue board, but there's other stuff too.
Criminals for Kamala.
Cute.
Rasmussen all just out. Trump a big win over Kamala. Radical left lunatics are threatening our judges and justices, playing the ref. This is illegal and elections interference. They are criminals. He's been going hard even since the last time I looked at this.
Yeah.
I will be doing a general news conference at 2 p.m. Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach. Thank you. We will be airing that. So
I love this one.
We are living in a pro-criminal atmosphere. It will end November 5th.
That's badass.
This is a retruth MAGA time. There's the Q plus. There's the where we go on, we go all. I did that.
Nice.
Okay. Stolen valor.
We'll get to this idiot if we have time.
Okay. Kamala has made it clear that she plans to continue Joe Biden's economic policies, which have allowed struggling families everywhere to the chance to pay $100 to $40 worth for groceries and $50 to $20 worth of gas. And she is actually quite proud of her accomplishments, and so are her voters.
Nice.
Both rich, hated for exposing truth, hated for letting truth be told. Boom. And they'll be doing an interview together on Monday night.
On Monday, yeah. And Abs and I have highlighted Musk every show for 2 years now. This is kind of funny with Vance out in front of her jet that you were talking about. That was pretty badass. There's some July 13th right there. Keep scrolling. Border stuff. Keep scrolling. That's Laura. She gets retruthed a lot. Kamala. That's Laura again.
All right. You did see the one where he just
God. Here's the peace through strength. So stop there. That's the last event we had. We showed it on Eye of the Storm that, that's a famous Reagan quote. And the Q board was showing us connections to the July 13th event that Trump was pointing to through his post about peace through strength. So Ronald Reagan, what happened to Ronald Reagan? Took one in the belly or wherever he got shot, right? So we were saying on Eye of the Storm, he's connecting to Ronald Reagan. He's connecting to JFK. Look for some sort of similar event coming up soon is about as direct as I could get without coming out and say, hey, watch what happens to Trump. He'll be fine. That's what I would tell people in private. There's going to be this large event. It's going to be filled with comms. At the end of the day, Trump will be fine. Don't worry about it. And that's exactly what happened. But peace through strength is ringing the bell again because that's as famous as it gets with Reagan. But keep rolling. Fight. There he is again with the July 13th stuff. Keep rolling. Here's the one I was on the stop on. So what is this about? Click on that image there if you could make that bigger. So Trump is got this new office there in Phoenix. And what do we got? We got crisis actors being hired. anti-Trump crisis actors hold signs and different things. So that is weird.
That is really weird.
All right.
Make this viral. Stupid liberals. Democrats are paying people to show up at her so-called rallies. Actors needed Phoenix Convention Center. Actors help. Donald Trump himself retruth this?
Yeah.
Bro.
So bizarre, right?
What the hell?
There's Laura again. Fight.
It's almost like he's going, I see you, bitches.
Well, I'm trying to get to the one that I found really.
Some toilet bowls for you.
Yeah, that's what is that?
The current administration is what that is.
Bye toilet rings. That's really funny.
You know what takes care of toilet rings? Not being a nasty bastard and cleaning your toilet every few days.
Oh my gosh. Are you buying?
You're almost at the Q2039, just a few more.
Great again.
Charts. Okay, that was also what he was pointing to on July 13th. And it just happens to be the biggest and most important, probably, graphic in his whole administration. But coincidence.
The life he had.
July 13th, right there. Hiding Harris. Here's the one right here that we just went over.
Yep. a literal Q drop signed by Q Plus with Donald Trump's face.
So everything we just rolled through, Trump has put up in the last 4 hours.
Unbelievable.
So there's another one I want to point out.
Q is fake, though, guys.
Well, there's another one that kind of goes with everything I posted because I've posted completely unapologetically. As soon as I got to Twitter, I just said, screw it. I'm going to go for it. There's another one right here somewhere. I actually have the screenshot. I should probably just go there.
What's it about?
Here it is. Kamala refuses to do interviews because her team realizes she is unable to answer questions, much like Biden was not able to answer questions, but for different reasons. He is just plain, in quotes, shot. What? What does that mean?
Imagine for a second being as stupid and incoherent and as unable to speak as Joe Biden, but not having the excuse of being an 83-year-old with dementia to fall back on.
Why did he put shot in quotes, guys?
Because that's not
right.
Joe Biden.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
He told us all along. He said that doesn't look like Joe. That doesn't sound like Joe. Joe is shot. Joe doesn't know where he is. Told us all along. Don Jr., Donald Trump, they all told us right out of the gate. And I used to post about it with my original Twitter account all the time. Every single day. Every single day I said the White Hats give us a little nugget every single day that we're watching a movie. That's not really him. Where he is, what his status is, I have no idea. I believe there's many people that we think are alive or dead, and it's in reverse. And I don't know where these people are, what's going on. There's many things that we don't know. And my mind is wide open to the capabilities and possibilities around all that. That's a really, really big rabbit hole. And what we ever find out, I'm not sure in our lifetimes what we're going to find out, to be honest. Q alludes to, like, we got to keep about 80% of this in the dark. So I think a lot of it we probably won't know in our lifetimes.
Joe, before I know we're going to lose you because of time, I want to show you one more thing, if you don't mind. So I'm of the mindset that this operation couldn't have taken place without full information control. I know that's hard for people to grasp because the CNNs and the MSDNCs or whatever still seem to look like they're attacking Donald Trump. Well, I believe that's by design. And every once in a while they tell us, right? So this is the most recent one where I was like, oh my OMG. Look, Paul and Joe are two of the greatest diggers on the planet. I got to show them what I saw this morning. So check this out.
First of all, the fact that, let me just say as an aside before I answer your question, the fact that Trump is now changing his position on the debate tells me that they understand that they're in a real fight here And so he needs to debate, which gives you a sense of where the race is. Look, I think that the problem, they've got a guy here who is from like central casting, like he drops out of a Norman Rockwell painting, right? He's small town America incarnate.
Oh, is that what it is?
Teacher, the coach, the 24 years in the National Guard, and so on. And
It's all right. I'll get rid of that because there's more, but that's the big dinger there. That's funny, right?
Yeah, he's right at essential, central casting. But that's the thing is they're saying how middle of the road, and Nancy Pelosi says anybody who says this guy is leftist is crazy. He's so central. I just wrote down kind of a top 10 little list that I just took some notes, and there's a lot more. But stolen valor. He was putting out the. He let the BLM riots happen without calling in National Guard. He's for defunding the police. He wants kids to have trans surgery and arrest their parents if they're against it. He went to China 30 times, including on his honeymoon. Comes out and says socialism is more like neighborly. He's pro-Hamas. He set up the COVID narc hotline. He rolled grannies into the problems with COVID. He's for open borders. Yeah, just typical middle America guy. That's why Kamala picked him. He's so middle of the road. He's exactly, if it wasn't for Trump, I would really, really like this guy. He's like right there. He's so middle of the road.
Well, I'm of the mindset. I'm looking at the whole thing from like a psychological, like if I was a shrink and I was trying to convince people, what it seems to me is happening with Kamala and Tim Pond. I think that they're making us recap the whole last 3.5 years. They're making us look at the transgender kids. They're making us look at what it is to see a coup happen. I mean, you can run the gamut of the green screen stuff that we're seeing at her rallies, six fingers on people, faces disappearing. I mean, it brings me back to when I saw Joe Biden put his hands through microphones, sound stages. It's literally a production.
They had, I saw one the other day, and I can't remember what congresswoman it was or something, but she walked behind somebody else and just straight disappeared. Like she didn't continue walking down the hall. Like she just, and it was a Kamala thing, but she walked behind and just disappeared. My God, I've got to find that now. I was just like, I'm over here as a video editor, like trying to debunk this thing and trying to like explain it away. And I'm like, I got nothing. Like this bitch just disappeared.
I don't have that one, but I have this one pulled right up. Watch this.
Travel to the southern border, sir? Not at the moment. Have you decided when you're able to
watch his hands.
Shots with other countries? Is it allies or neighbors first? Who will be the first country to get U.S. vaccine? I've been talking with several countries already.
I got a quick add on, Joe, then I got to bounce.
Okay.
All right. So I talked about this on the show, but Donald Trump has given money to Kamala Harris back in like 2013, 2014, and 2015 to help her become district attorney or whatever she was out there in California. Okay. That's the past history of Donald Trump with her. Then when there was all this buzz about who quote unquote Biden is going to select for his VP, now you also have to take the position like we've just been going through that it's the three of our opinions that we slotted this person in, whoever that is, as in Joe Biden. So if you're going to slot in the number one, you would also have control under the number two. Okay. So Donald Trump gave money to her. And then when Biden, quote unquote, Biden was going to pick his VP, Donald Trump did a press conference and said, she's my number one draft choice. I really hope that she picks him. I mean, that he picks her. That's my number one draft choice. And then he had his attorney after all that come out and say, she's got some issues with her history. I'm not really sure she's eligible to be vice president or president. And he had his attorney do articles and interviews about it. So this is all to me laid out for a plan. Okay. So in between the 2020 election and before Joe Biden got inaugurated, Donald Trump did another press conference and said Joe Biden's going to have the 25th Amendment come back to haunt him. Okay. And then he added, careful what you wish for. And then recently he connected those dots with Kamala Harris, said basically she's lying and careful what you wish for. And then what we uncovered, because of what he threw out there about her Indian background, was that her birth certificate seems to have been amended 3 days after Biden picked her. So you put all those things together, the three of us kind of believe that whoever that Biden person is under white hat control, that this whole last 4 years was a great awakening. Makes sense that you would have control over number two. Donald Trump gave money to her in 2013, 2014, 2015, calls her his number one draft choice, has his attorney say she's not really eligible. And then when they threw it back on him and said, well, how could she be vice president if she's not eligible to be president? You would have to be eligible to be vice president. And he threw that and said, well, that's something that Biden needed to look at. That's up to Joe. I really hope Joe didn't make a mistake, with his vetting. That's all up to the Biden administration. So he said, look for this in the future. And then when he was pressed on it, that he said, oh, that was up to Joe to vet that. So I think all those things are yet to play out. Obviously, we're sitting right on that precipice almost moment. And I really think that as all these international things start to happen, everybody left, right, and center are going to be calling for the 25th Amendment to bounce Joe. And then that's going to put the full spotlight on Kamala Harris. And we're going to probably find out there's some issues with her background. People are already digging and finding out issues. We showed on the show that Wikipedia people went and adjusted her father's status in his history already. So all these things are weird, right? When there's a bunch of weird and there's a bunch of control on the front end, it all leads to a purpose, okay, and a plan. And then the Q that talks about change of batter talks about the DNC convention. And it says, how do you, it mentions like a she being slipped in at the end. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. But there's a whole lot of smoke there, and we're tracking it. And then I'll let you guys wrap up, and then I got to bounce.
Yeah, the only thing I have to add on is why I pointed this out Tuesday night after you brought up the same things. And that's, what state does Kamala represent? California, right? And so we were told to watch California, but when Trump did his podcast or his interview there with Aiden Ross, and Aiden Ross gave him the Tesla Cybertruck, and they got in, and Trump chose a song. What song did he choose? Because I'm pretty sure it was California Dreamin'. So there's definitely smoke to the fire, man, or fire to the smoke. I think that, when he says she's the number one draft choice, you remember he said the same shit about Nancy. So we'll see what happens, man. But me and Joe maintain we don't think Kamala's going to end up making it to the gate as the nominee. So we'll see what happens, man. I even made a post and said on Eye of the Storm that we might be on the verge of not just a gigantic Q proof, which we already got in the change of batter, right? But we might just be about to get a gigantic white hat proof, because it could be change of batter from Kamala, and then Joe's pissed off and wants to slide back in there. So then it becomes a devolution proof that they just can't get rid of this son of a bitch. So but if it ends up being Hillary, well,
yeah, perfect.
It's perfect.
Next.
Yeah,
she's using his ID for took his funding and all this. So is this legal? What is this? So yeah, you guys can scroll through that, but that was what I was going to suggest. Pop that up next. But pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on. We'll see you in a bit.
Always, Joe, brother. Man. Thank you, bro.
Peace.
See you. Yeah, I was wondering, Abs, if you guys saw this. Did you see this as well?
I did. This is the exact kind of thing that would get her removed from the ticket. This is basically money. This basically gives her access to all of Joe Biden's fundraising and all of his funds. It's fraud. It's 100% fraud. You can't file to run under presidency under another president's filing number. It's illegal.
Yeah, this is a long post, and I'm just so everyone's aware, I am watching on the other screen. As soon as Trump comes up, I will pull it up and we will watch it together. Abs and I can break it down for you. And I will post this in the Telegram. It's already up on my Twitter. If you're on Twitter, if you're on Telegram, it'll be there after the show. But this is a long read, but Abs is absolutely right. It shows absolute fraud. I mean, there's absolutely no way that she can use Biden's personal candidate number instead of her own.
Right. Yeah, it's a total money grab to get Biden's money that has already been raised for him and his campaign, with air quotes there. Yeah, this is the exact look, man. I saw a post from you earlier today. You're like, I've never been so excited for a DNC, and I'm over here like I never watched that shit, but I'm totally watching this year because it is gonna be a clown show. It is gonna if we're in full blown exposure and think mirror mode. Think of how almost fun the RNC was for basically the first time ever, and think of the direct opposite of that. It's probably going to be a complete and utter shit show.
I mean, and then there's also the different aspects of how they're just being completely embarrassed, like Tampon Tim.
Tampon Tim is just amazing. I mean,
Julian,
that's
isn't Julian's rum that called him Timpon? That was really funny.
Timpon, and then I added. Hold on, I'm uploading some. I added this one on Tuesday night. Julian's rum is calling him Timpon. I'm calling him Timpax.
Oh yeah, I saw your meme. I was watching that shit. That's really
good old
funny.
Timpax. And you know what? On a serious note, man, it's really. I had made a post shortly before this show started that Waltz is getting hammered for his stolen valor, and it's the National Guard's spoken on it. You've got Air Force, Navy, like Army, Marines, all folks from all over the place have spoken on this and outed this dude, right? And then you've got JD Vance, who has an upstanding and verifiable, just flat out banging record of service with the Marines, right? Folks, that should tell you that Trump knew well ahead of time that Harris was going to pick Waltz. He absolutely knew it. And that's part of the reason he picked Vance, because this is literally a think mirror right in front of your face. Vance and Waltz are the direct opposite of one another. And I pointed that out the other day as well, that like within an hour or two of Waltz being announced, Trump's team had released that, I think it was like 44 or 45-second video just smashing Waltz already, right? But it was a really well produced video, had a lot, the whole thing was captioned, and it didn't just have captions like at the bottom of the screen when the scene changed. The captions are flying in from different directions and different transitions in and out. My point is, as a video editor, somebody didn't throw that video together in an hour and get it posted the way they did without having foreknowledge of who the pick was going to be to start putting that shit together. So he absolutely knew. It's game theory. It's 5G warfare. He absolutely knew Waltz was going to be the guy, and that's part of the reason he picked Vance. And then you and I talked about it pre-show, bro. Vance had arguably the most boss move I've ever seen in my life yesterday, when he just strolls up with his entire entourage up to Air Force 2, and he's like, just wanted to come check out my new plane in person. It's a nice plane. The balls on this guy. And then he just walks over to her press corps. He's like, I figured I'd come talk to you because she doesn't. Like, come on, man. That was as gangster as it gets.
There is so much adding up that I think it would almost be delusional to think that Kamala Harris and Walz are going to be the Democratic nominees. It's just not happening. I mean, did you see what Scavino posted?
I don't know.
Hold on. I already have the YouTube. I'm waiting for Trump, but I don't want to mess it up, but I'm going to have to. I got to show you this. I'm going to make this small. Oh, there we go. All right, here we go. Go small. All right, here we go. All right, so this is Scavino. Just posted this morning. Hearing Biden wants back in the race after finally taking some time to realize what his friends did to him leading up to his drop of the letter posted via X on Sunday afternoon. What are they narrative seeding? Him and Trump are acting like Joe Biden's going to crash the DNC and bring he's going to burn the whole house down.
Right? Wow. That would be amazing.
Let me pull Trump. Let me pull this Trump thing back up. I don't want to miss him. All right, back to live. Okay, I'm dying to know what he wants to say in this press conference because he really didn't say it all, right?
No, he didn't. He just said we'll be having a general press conference.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the guy on RSPN is the one that always says that Joe Biden's fake. I love that dude.
Right?
He's the only guy I watched talk before an event because he always slips in these like Donald Trump's he's going to be 47th and he is 45th and he's also 46th, if you know what I mean. He does a thing.
That thing was great. I was like, wow, this guy has no chill.
Let me Abs, let me take a second real quick before Trump comes on and say thank you. Hey, I need advice from you. How do you pull up Rumble rants so that you can just read the rants, the ones that disappeared and stuff?
So that's a plugin. Yeah, that's a plugin for Google Chrome.
All right, we'll talk after. We'll talk after at some point. You got to help me out with that because I hate because the conversations you don't want to interrupt them,
right?
But at the same time, you don't want to not appreciate or say thank you to people that support what you're doing. So,
right.
I need that trick. You guys all pull it off so well, and I don't know how to do it. So, I want to say thank you to. There was one Rumble rant. Luckily, I believe it's still. I think it was call sign Cujo. Yep. Yeah, call sign Cujo with a $5 Rumble rant. Just wanted to send some love. God bless. Thank you very, very much for that. And there's been all types of pills over on pill.net. I'll tell you what, I'm going to save those and say thank you at the end. But I see you, your boy Death, and everybody over there dropping gold pills on red pills on pill.net. Gold pills. If you could, do this while we're waiting. There's a whole pile of you in here. No matter what platform you're on, hit that positive affirmation button, whether it be the thumbs up over on Rumble, that red pill and pill.net. If you're watching on Twitter, please share the show out, drop a comment, and know that we have these other platforms where everybody's hanging out and dropping comments. I plan on continuing to do this as long as Absolute and Stormy Patriot Show want to do it. We will continue to do this on Thursdays as long as I'm not working. So,
yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, bro, this is always a blast to hang out. It really is, and it's made me a lot more active in at work. I get a bunch of free time, so typically I'm doing my own digs and I'm kind of in my own bubble, but it's made me reach out a little bit. Like I've watched your guys' show more instead of just doing my own digs. I've hung out and watched some of the Devolution Power Hour and some other shows, and I've met some more people. I'm gonna have G Money on here coming soon. So I got to talk to him about some crypto and stuff. I'm not a big crypto guy. I'm not against it, and I'd love to hear what he has to say. So I can't wait to do that show. That's going to be fun. But yeah, there's a whole pile of you guys over there on Baylands that I'm having a blast hanging out with, and the crew that follows you guys, they all call themselves Badlanders. It's really cool how loyal they are.
Yeah, they're awesome people, man. I've made friends, like real world friends with a few of them, and they're just really good people. It's just like it's just finding your foxhole, man. It's finding your tribe and your people you're going to go to war with. It's not we as a movement we fight together, but you've got to have your little groups you kind of fight with, the people that are essentially your shield and you're their shield, and they've always got your six and you've got theirs, and that's what it's all about, man. That's the thing that's kept me in the movement at times. There've definitely been times I've been broken and I'm like, I can't do this shit anymore. I just can't. And then I remember all the folks and all the kind words and the support and the love, and it just brings me right back around, man. It's a blessing for sure. It's funny because I was telling you before the show, I'm an introvert. Like I'm seriously an introvert. If you've ever seen me at Gart, I'm sociable and I talk and have conversations, but I'll also Sasquatch my ass out of there in a second, and you'll be like, "Where the hell did Paul go?" And it's because I got to recharge. Like my people meter has been worn down, but I've learned to enjoy it, and I never thought I would actually enjoy being an extroverted, sociable person. And it's just what this movement has done. It's radically altered so many people's lives and who and what they thought they were. And for me personally, it's been nothing but good to kind of break out of this shell. So I'm the typical Cancer, man. I'm a crab in his shell, You know, I can be emotional and I kind of stay withdrawn sometimes, and I tend to bottle up when things are getting on top of me. But I've learned how not to do that stuff and how to, you know, kind of wear my heart on my sleeve and just kind of be out there, man. It's because of this movement and the confidence people have given me. I'm ever grateful, man. I know I say that a lot. I'm not trying to browbeat. I'm a big believer in showing gratitude and thanks for what you receive. I believe that begets more blessings onto you and those around you. So I'm truly grateful for everything, everybody I've met in this movement, the people I've worked with, the people I've been in foxholes with. You know, it's been a blessing, dude.
Yeah, I love the foxhole thing, but I also love being the guy that's like, you know, I'm in lots of different foxholes. So because I've made friends
It's
across the
more
board.
It's more like one really big foxhole that's just like this miles long trench that's a foxhole. You know what I mean? Like you could bed down in one foxhole and then wander a half mile down the trench to another foxhole and sit in and hang with those friends and chill out over the campfire and talk and dig with them. And then you can pick up and head down the road to another foxhole. And it's awesome, man. It really is, to draw a World War II comparison. It really is kind of like the Allies all just kind of like hunkering down together, and we're up against this huge thing and we got to take it down. And you know, or World War One, whatever analogy you want to use, man. But it's just people just coming together for a good benevolent reason, and it really is awesome to be a part of. It's an incredible time to be alive. I know it's scary as shit sometimes, but it's an incredible time to be alive.
Yeah, I saw somebody. Who was it? Oh. So somebody asked, "Oh my God, G Money, seriously?" Yeah. You know what? I started talking to G Money the other day, and he said that was a really good interview you did with General Quast. And I was like, "Damn, how cool is that?" G Money watched my episode with General Quast. It was awesome, bro. If you didn't check that one out, you got to see it because I did the same. I did something similar to you guys, and I presented General Quast with some Q posts, and you should have saw his face. I went back and watched his face. I almost wanted to post it, but I didn't want to like rub it in too much because it was such a epic moment to be able to share my favorite Q post with a 3-star general and not get shut down. It was awesome.
Right? Right? Like how cool was that?
Yeah, you guys did it even more than I did. So, what's your thoughts on General Quast?
I love him. I love the dude. Um he's one of few people I've had conversations with that legitimately intimidates me from an intellectual standpoint. So when we had him on Eye of the Storm, I was legitimately nervous before that interview. I was and I to be fair, I felt that way before we had Boone Cutler on as well. But I just feel like these guys are kind of a step above in their understanding and analytical minds, and the way that their brains are able to perceive things and work through problems. Um, it's such an enlightening experience interviewing the guy. You learn something almost every second he's speaking, and um, it's just such a pleasant person as well. He's for a 3-star general. He really doesn't make you feel like you're less than him. Like it would be very easy to go fight under that guy. You know, you could tell he respects you. You could tell he respects the work you put in, and genuinely, not in a facade kind of way, but he's genuinely interested. And you can tell because when he's having these conversations with you on various topics, whether it be geopolitics or what's going on in this country or 5G warfare or even Q, he's knowledgeable on all of it, which means he hasn't just skimmed headlines to have talking points. He's actually dug in and read and researched the stuff, and knows all of these topics almost as deeply as any of us that have been digging on all of it for years, which, you know, kind of tells you he's legit because he already knows the information we're talking about because he had access to that shit. So it's like, you know, it's just so fascinating. You know, I when we had him on the show and we went over the Space Force Q proof and got his thoughts on that, I was just mind blown, man. And I'm not at all suggesting that Quas is involved with Q team or anything of that sort. But what I'm saying is that somebody that high ranking taking an interest in Q.
Hold on. Hold that thought.
Is he coming on? Here we go.
That's his sound, not mine.
Safety standpoint, both gangs on the street and frankly gangs outside of our country in the form of other countries that are frankly Very powerful. They're very powerful countries, and we don't know what we're doing. We have leadership that has no clue how to handle them or how to handle any other situation. We have a lot of bad things coming up. You could end up in a depression of the 1929 variety, which would be a devastating thing. Took many years, took decades to recover from it. And we're very close to that. And we're very close to a world war. In my opinion, we're very close to a world war. We have people that don't know how to handle it. They're not respected. All over the world, they're laughed at. And we can't have that. Most dangerous period of time I've ever seen for our country. With that being said, we have somebody that hasn't received one vote for president, and she's running, and that's fine with me. But we were given Joe Biden, and now we're given somebody else. And I think, frankly, I'd rather be running against the somebody else. But that was their choice. They decided to do that because Kamala's record is horrible. She's a radical left person at a level that nobody's seen. She picked a radical left man that is, he's got things done that he has positions that are just not, it's not even possible to believe that they exist. He's going for things that nobody's ever even heard of. Heavy into the transgender world, heavy into lots of different worlds having to do with safety. He doesn't want to have borders. He doesn't want to have walls. He doesn't want to have any form of safety for our country. He doesn't mind people coming in from prisons, and neither does she, I guess, because she's not, she couldn't care less. She's the border czar. By the way, she was the border czar 100%. And all of a sudden, for the last few weeks, she's not the border czar anymore, like nobody ever said it. And I just hope that the media becomes more diligent, more honest, frankly, because if they're not going to be honest, it's going to be much tougher to bring our country back. We have a very, very sick country right now. You saw the other day with the stock market crashing. That was just the beginning. That was just the beginning. It's going to get worse. It's going to get a lot worse, in my opinion. And fortunately, we've had some very good polls over the last fairly short period of time. Rasmussen came out today. We're substantially leading, and others came out today that we're leading, and in some cases substantially. I guess MSNBC came out, or CNBC came out also with a poll that was, has us leading, and leading fairly big in swing states. In some polls, I'm leading very big in swing states because they want safety. People want safety. They want security. They want respect all around the world for our country. They don't want this horrible culture that is developing, a culture of no common sense. It's really a culture of no common sense, and it's not what anyone wants. We want to have a safe country. We want to have a strong military. We want low interest rates, and we want to be able to have the American dream. We want to be able to have our youth be able to buy homes, housing, get good jobs. And we're really just at the opposite right now. It's so sad to see. But as a border czar, she's been the worst border czar in history, in the world history. I think the number is 20 million, but whether it's 15 or 20, it's numbers that nobody's ever heard before. 20 million people came over the border during the Biden-Harris administration. 20 million people, and it could be very much higher than that. Nobody really knows what the number is. Nobody knows. Nobody has a clue. And the gotaways, they call them the gotaways. The gotaways are at numbers. Somebody was quizzing me on it the other day. No, I don't think so, sir. I don't think so. They have no idea what those numbers are, but they're much higher than you would think. Just like far more people were killed in the Ukraine-Russia war than you ever report. Just like the October 7th would have never happened. Russia would have never hit Ukraine had the election result been called differently. It was a very bad call, but Russia would not have attacked Ukraine. October 7th in Israel would have never happened. You wouldn't have inflation. A lot of great things would have happened, but now you have millions and millions of dead people, and you have people dying financially because they can't buy bacon, they can't buy food, they can't buy groceries, they can't do anything. And they're living horribly in our country right now. With all of that being said, I think it's very important to have debates, and we've agreed with Fox on a date of September 4th. We've agreed with NBC, fairly full agreement, subject to them, on September 10th, and we've agreed with ABC on September 25th. So we have those 3 dates, and those networks, they're very anxiously awaiting that date and those dates. So we have September 4th, September 10th, and September 25th. We have spoken to the heads of the network, and it's all been confirmed, other than some fairly minor details. Audience, some location, which city would we put it into, but all things that will be settled very easily. I think it'll be very easy. The other side has to agree to the terms. They may or may not agree. I don't know if they're going to agree. She hasn't done an interview. She can't do an interview. She's barely competent, and she can't do an interview. But I look forward to the debates because I think we have to set the record straight. Why is it that millions of people were allowed to come into our country from prisons, from jails, from mental institutions, insane asylums, even insane asylums? That's it's a mental institution on steroids. That's what it is. When you see the people that are coming into these are institutions that are being emptied out, not in South America, all over the world, including South America, all over the world. Prisons are being emptied out into our country because we have a president that's the worst president in the history of our country. We have a vice president who is the least admired, least respected, and the worst vice president in the history of our country, the most unpopular vice president. And because of political reasons or because of being politically correct, even though she never received a vote. Don't forget, she was the first one defeated, as I remember it, because I watched it very closely, but she was the first one. She never made it to Iowa, the first state. She never made it to Iowa. She was the first one that was defeated. She was the nastiest to him. She was nasty with calling him a racist and the school bus and all of the different things. She was very nasty to Biden. And shockingly, he appointed her, asked her to serve as vice president. Well, I don't know if he's happy about that decision right now. This was taken away. The presidency was taken away from Joe Biden. And I'm no Biden fan, but I'll tell you what, from a constitutional standpoint, from any standpoint you look at, they took the presidency away. And people were saying he lost after the debate. He couldn't win. Well, I don't know that that's true necessarily.
Whoa.
But whether he could win or he couldn't win, he had the right to run. And they took it away. They said they're going to use the 25th Amendment. They're going to hit you hard. Either we can do it the nice. I know exactly, because I know a lot of people on the other side, believe it or not. And they said, we'll do it the nice way or we'll do it the hard way. And he said, all right. So that, I mean, they've really taken, what they've done is pretty incredible. And now I'm running against somebody else and we're leading. We're leading. So I'm not complaining. I'm saying for a country with a constitution that we cherish this constitution. To have done it this way is pretty severe, pretty horrible. You would have thought they would have gone out to a vote. They would have had a primary system. They would have done something, but to just take it away from him like he was a child. And he's a very angry man right now. I can tell you that. He's not happy with Obama, and he's not happy with Nancy Pelosi, crazy Nancy. She is crazy too. She's not happy with any of the people that told him that you've got to leave. He's very unhappy, very angry. And I think he also blames her. He's trying to put up a good face, but it's a very bad thing in terms of a country when you do that. I'm not a fan of his, as you probably have noticed. And he had a rough debate, but that doesn't mean that you just take it away like that. Or you go out to a vote, you do something. He had 14 million votes. She had no votes. She got no votes. And I think she's crashing. I think when people find out, and I think people are starting to find out what a bad job she did, what a bad job she did on the border. She's trying to say she had nothing to do with the border. She had everything. She was appointed to head the border. And then they said borders are, oh, she loved that name. She loved that name, but she never went there. She went to a location once along the border, but that was a location that you would love to go and have dinner with your husband or whoever. That was a location that was not part of the problem. That was not really going to the border. So essentially, she never went to the border. And if you listen to Tom Holman, if you listen to the great border people, Brandon Judd from Border Patrol, if you listen to Paul, I mean, so many different people. I speak to them all the time. and I did when I was president. We had the best border in the history of our country. Now we have the worst border in the history of the world. Millions of people coming in, and our country cannot sustain it. Our country is going down because of this, because of incompetent people. So I just look forward to these debates. I think it's very important that we have them. I hope she agrees to them. September 4th, September 10th, September 25th. And I think they'll be very revealing. I think they'll be very revealing. Do you have any questions, please? I haven't recalibrated strategy at all. It's the same policies, open borders, weak on crime. I think she's worse than Biden because he got forced into the position. She was there long before. She destroyed San Francisco. She destroyed California as the AG. But as the DA, she destroyed San Francisco. A friend of mine, Bob Tisch, all know the Tisch family. He was in many cities with companies. He said the greatest city in the country is San Francisco. That was about 20 years ago. And he passed away a while ago, and he would be looking down and said, what happened? He thought it was the best city in the country. He had divisions there, lows. And he would be looking down in horror now when he sees she destroyed no cash bail, weak on crime. She's terrible. And yet they weaponized the system against me. They have me. I got so many lawyers. Now they want to delay cases. I won the big case in Florida. I won the big case. Nobody even wrote about it. The big case, the judge was a brilliant judge. And all they do is they play the ref with the judges. This judge was a fair but brilliant judge. And as you probably heard, the big documents case, I won it. Now, Biden lost it because he didn't have presidential immunity. He didn't have the Presidential Records Act. He lost it. But the special, I call it prosecutor, special counsel, special prosecutor to me, he appointed by him, appointed by Garland, he said the man's incompetent. He can't stand trial, but he can run for president. But we no longer have to worry about that because we have somebody that, in my opinion, is more incompetent. She couldn't pass her bar exam and lots of other things. And she should not be in a position because if she becomes president, our country is going to be a giant fail. It's going to fail. It's going to be a failure the likes of which this world has never seen. Yeah, please. All right, how about you?
I can't wait to.
You have to speak louder. Yeah. Well, it changes around a little bit. I'm getting other voters. Perhaps, I was doing very well with black voters, and I still am. I seem to be doing very well with black males. This is according to polls, as you know. It's possible that I won't do as well with black women, but I do seem to be doing very well with other segments, extremely well with Hispanic. Jewish voters way up. White males way up. White males have gone through the roof. White males way up. No, I don't know. All we're doing is giving you the stats that you have. It could be that I'll be affected somewhat with black females where we're doing pretty well. And I think ultimately they'll like me better because I'm going to give them security, safety, and jobs. I'm going to give them a good economy. We have a very bad economy right now. We could literally be on the throes of a depression, not recession, a depression. And they can't have that. They can't have that. So I think I'm going to do well with everybody, especially when the facts are out. Yeah, please, in the back. Well, I don't know. I know Josh Shapiro. He's a terrible guy, and he's not very popular with anybody. I think that this election maybe is better than Josh Shapiro would have been. But I think other than Josh Shapiro, I think she had some good choices. But Josh Shapiro is not one of them. He's caused a lot of damage with a lot of people. And I don't think he would have been better. I think he would have been maybe the equivalent, maybe not as good. But they had some people that they were looking at that were good, far superior to her. They actually had a story where they had everybody, including, they had like 10 people that she was looking at and her. And they said she was the worst of all. In other words, she was the worst out of the 10 people and her. I don't know how that's going to work out. We'd like to do 3 debates. We think we should do 3 debates. We think Fox and ABC, and we also have CBS is going to do the vice presidential debate. So CBS will do vice presidential, and I have to tell you, J.D. Vance has really stepped up. He's doing a fantastic job. Say it. Oh, give me a break. Listen, I had 107,000 people in New Jersey. You didn't report it. I'm so glad you asked. What did she have yesterday? 2,000 people? If I ever had 2,000 people, you'd say my campaign is finished. It's so dishonest, the press. And here's a great example. I
did, Keck.
Michigan recently, 25,000 people, and 25,000 people we just couldn't get them in. We had in Harrisburg, 25,000 people, and 20,000 people couldn't get in. We had so many. Nobody ever mentions that. When she gets 1,500 people, and I saw it yesterday on ABC, which they said, oh, the crowd was so big. I have 10 times, 20 times, 30 times the crowd size. And no, they never say the crowd was big. That's why I'm always saying, turn around the cameras. I'm so glad you asked that. I think it's so terrible when you say, well, she has 1,500 people, 1,000 people, and they talk about, oh, the enthusiasm. Let me tell you, we have the enthusiasm. The Republican Party and me as a candidate, but the Republican Party has the enthusiasm because people want to see crime stopped. They want to see a country that's respected. Think of it. If I were president, you wouldn't have Russia and Ukraine, where it never happened. Zero chance. You wouldn't have had October 7th of Israel. You wouldn't have the horrible withdrawal. And I don't mean the withdrawal because the withdrawal was fine. I was ready to withdraw from Afghanistan, and we were going to do it with dignity and strength. And we were keeping our equipment. We weren't leaving $85 billion worth of equipment behind. And we wouldn't have had 13 great soldiers. I know the families of those soldiers well. We wouldn't have had the soldiers killed. And we wouldn't have had 45 soldiers obliterated. No legs, no arms, the face. None of that would have happened. And you wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had any inflation because inflation was caused by their bad energy problems. Now they've gone back to the Trump thing because they need the votes. I don't know if you know, they're drilling now because they had to go back because gasoline was going up to $7, $8, $9 a barrel. So they said, we better do what Trump. But the day after the election, if they won, you're going to have fuel prices go through the roof. Everybody's going to be forced to buy an electric car, which they're not going to do because they don't want that. It's got a great market. It's got a market. It's really a sub-market. People want gasoline-propelled cars. They want hybrids. They want to have everything, and they want electric. But they want everybody to have an electric car. We don't have enough electricity. We couldn't make enough electricity for that. And you know what else? The weight of a car, the weight of a truck. They want all trucks to be electric. Little things that a lot of people don't talk about. The weight of a truck is 2.5 times heavier. You would have to rebuild every bridge in this country if you were going to do this ridiculous policy. So, but on crowd size, in history, for any country, nobody's had crowds like I have, and you know that. And when she gets 1,000 people and everybody starts jumping, you know that if I had 1,000 people would say, that's the end of his campaign. I have hundreds of thousands of people in South Carolina. I had 88,000 people. In Alabama, I had 68,000 people. Nobody says about crowd size with me, but she has 1,000 people or 1,500 people, and they say, oh, the enthusiasm's back. No. The enthusiasm is with me and the Republican Party because they want to stop crime. They want to stop people from pouring into our country from places unknown and from countries unknown, from countries that nobody ever heard of. That's where the enthusiasm.
This is awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I can or not. I got him elected. Without me, he wouldn't be governor. I got him elected. He was doing terribly. I got him elected. With that being said, I hope we can repair it. But if we don't, the people are still the people, and they're going to vote. We're leading in Georgia by a lot. We're leading in Pennsylvania by a lot. So, but I don't know. Now in Pennsylvania, I have great relationships. In Georgia, I do too, but unfortunately not with the governor. I've never understood it. When you get somebody elected, they're supposed to like you. He's not exactly for some reason, and you'll have to ask him about that. Yeah, I'd love to see it get repaired. I think that if we don't win Georgia, Georgia is a big win, is a big state. So I won Alabama by a record. Nobody's ever gotten that many votes. I won South Carolina by a record. You don't win Alabama and South Carolina by records and lose Georgia. It doesn't happen. And the people of Georgia understand that. There was tremendous anxiety and problems in Georgia. A lot of people say, what happened? And we have to, all we want is honest elections. If we have honest elections in Georgia, we have honest elections in Pennsylvania, we're going to win them by a lot. Well, he actually said it two ways. First, he said it incorrectly, then he corrected himself. Do you agree with that, right? You know, if you watch him, he said it two ways. No. I mean, he said it two ways because he doesn't really know what he said. Why didn't he bring it up at the debate? You know, he had a chance for 90 minutes to bring it up at the debate. He could have talked about that at the debate, and he didn't do it. Everyone said, oh, he said this and he said that. He's just, you know, they give him something to read off. He read it very badly because he actually said it the opposite. Then he had to go back and correct himself. He said the opposite. He should have brought this up at the debate. If he had a problem, of course there'll be a peaceful transfer. And there was last time, and there'll be a peaceful transfer. I just hope we're going to have honest elections. That's all. Okay? What a stupid question this is. Because I'm leading by a lot and because I'm letting their convention go through. And I am campaigning a lot. I'm doing tremendous amounts of taping here. We have commercials that are at a level I don't think that anybody's ever done before. Plus, in certain cases, I see many of you in the room where I'm speaking to you on phones. I'm speaking to radio. I'm speaking to television. Television's coming over here. Excuse me, what are we doing right now? She's not doing any news conference. You know why she's not doing it? Because she can't do a news conference. She doesn't know how to do a news conference. She's not smart enough to do a news conference. And
Damn.
Smart people to leave this country because our country's never been in this danger before, both economically and from an outside perspective. Russia doesn't respect us anymore. China doesn't respect us anymore. North Korea, Kim Jong-un liked me a lot. He doesn't like this group. We are in great danger. We're in great danger of being in World War III. That could happen. No, after their convention, yeah. And I'm going out. Actually, I'm going out to certain places to help certain senators get elected. Not even for me. I'm trying to help when I go out to Wyoming or when I go out to Montana, or I'm going to different places to help people. And I don't have to go there because I'm leading those states, as you know, by 35, 40, 50 points. I'm leading by record numbers. I'm going because I want to help senators and congressmen get elected. Congressmen and women get elected. Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead. The upcoming what?
Have you noticed, Paul, that his hair looks different at different times? It looks real thin in some of these moments, and then other times it's...
Yeah, the Elon Musk. So, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Elon called me.
Sometimes it looks
As
whiter
you know,
than usual, too.
Great endorsement. I respect Elon a lot. He respects me. And not easy for him to endorse, to be honest with you. You know, it takes courage to endorse people. Many people have courage and many people don't. He does have courage. And Elon endorsed me, and he asked me whether or not I'd do a show on Monday, and I think it's going to be Monday night. And I believe he's the host of the show. So it'll be very interesting. A lot of people are talking about it. I look forward to it. That'll be done on Monday night.
I can't wait.
Oh, dude.
Well, you have a lot of misinformation spread about China. And you have a lot of
China.
disinformation spread about a lot of different places. I think I'm going to get along great with China. President Xi of China and I were very good friends. We met right here, right in that, except we had a beautiful sofa there as opposed to what we have right now. Right now we have you. But President Xi and I had a very good relationship until COVID. And I held him responsible for COVID. It broke up our relationship. But I think we're going to have a great relationship. And I think it's going to be mutually beneficial. But we cannot have it where China is taking advantage of the United States. And that's what they were doing, as you very well know. Yes, please.
He does longer press conferences than Kamala does rallies.
Right?
No, I think the people that, if you look at January 6th, which a lot of people aren't talking about very much, I think those people were treated very harshly when you compare them to other things that took place in this country where a lot of people were killed. Nobody was killed on January 6th. But I think that the people of January 6th were...
Wait a second. Whoa.
And they were there to complain, not through me. They were there to complain about an election. And, you know, it's very interesting. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I said peacefully and patriotically, which nobody wants to say, but I said peacefully and patriotically. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken to, and you've seen, Maggie, I was at the mall. I was at the Washington Monument. I was at the whole thing. I had crowds. I don't know who's ever had a bigger crowd than I have, but I had it many times. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken before was that day. And I'll tell you, it's very hard to find a picture of that crowd. You see the picture of a small number of people relatively going to the Capitol, but you never see the picture of the crowd. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken. I've spoken to the biggest crowds. Nobody's spoken to crowds bigger than me. If you look at Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, his great speech, and you look at ours, same real estate, same everything, same number of people. If not, we had more. And they said he had 1 million people, but I had 25,000 people. But when you look at the exact same picture, and everything's the same because it was the fountains, the whole thing, all the way back to from Lincoln to Washington.
Oh boy, he's about to trigger some liberals.
And you look at the picture of his crowd, my crowd, we actually had more people. They said I had 25,000 and he had 1 million people. And I'm okay with it because I liked Dr. Martin Luther King. Yeah, please.
Look, if you can buy in that Ashley Babbitt didn't die, then maybe you should also rethink the assassination. I'm just saying.
Yeah, sure. We have a constitution. It's a very important document, and we live by it. She has no votes, and I'm very happy to run against her. I'm not complaining from that standpoint. And I hate to be defending him, but he did not want to leave. He wanted to see if he could win. They said, you're not going to win after the debate. They said, you're not going to win. You can't win. You're out. And at first they said it nicely, and he wasn't leaving. And then you know it better than anybody. Wait a minute. So when you think about it, they said at first they were going to go out to another vote. They were going to go through a primary system, a quick primary system, which it would have to be. And then it all disappeared. And they just picked a person that was the first out. She was the first loser. Okay. So we call her the first loser. She was the first loser during the primary system. During the Democrat primary system, she was the first one to quit. And she quit. She had no votes, no support, and she was a bad debater, by the way, very bad debater. And that's not the thing.
Oh, yeah, Trump's going to tear her up.
Debater. She did obviously a bad job. She never made it to Iowa. Then for some reason, and I know he regrets it, you do too, he picked her, and she turned on him too. She was working with the people that wanted him out. But the fact that you can get no votes, lose in the primary system, in other words, you had 14 or 15 people, she was the first one out, and that you can then be picked to run for president, it seems to me actually unconstitutional. Perhaps it's not. Please.
Against Joe Biden, are there any ways that you see her as a more challenging opponent than those other two?
So I've run against Hillary. and I've run against various other people. I would say that in terms of intelligence, Hillary was far superior. I would say that. Hillary was smart. She was her own worst enemy in many ways, but she was smart, very smart. Okay?
It's very
if you ask me to compare them, please.
Damn, I wish they'd turn that microphone on every time.
Right? Fucking amateur hour here with the Q&A.
Would you repeat that question, please? You have to speak up. It's a hard room because it's very big. If you know,
it's very big.
Worth $18 million. So
called trolling. We do a little trolling.
On abortion, that was probably
there we go.
General election voters than many of your Republican rivals in the primary did. You said leave it to the states. Given that Florida is a state voting on that this fall, how do you plan to vote? Do you plan to support?
So I think the abortion issue has been very much tempered down, and I've answered, I think, very well in the debate, and it seems to be much less of an issue, especially for those where they have the exceptions, as you know. And I think it's when I look for 52 years, they wanted to bring abortion back to the states. They wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade, and that's Democrats, Republicans, and independents, and everybody, liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted it back in the states, and I did that. Now the states are voting, and frankly, some of the votes are much more, if you could say, liberal than you would think. Ohio turned out to be, they had a big vote, and it turned out to be a much more liberal standing than people would have thought. Kansas, the same thing, and then you have Texas, and you have other places where it may be different. But the issue has been brought back to the states now. And like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly. I think that that's a very important thing. I think when you have to follow your heart. But when you don't believe in the exceptions, I think it's much tougher. It's a much tougher issue. But about 82% of Republicans do believe in exceptions. I think and a lot of them are changing their mind and coming even further. I think that abortion has become much less of an issue. It's a very small, I think it's actually going to be a very small issue. What I've done is I've done what every Democrat and every Republican wanted to have done, and we brought that issue back to the states. And now the states are voting on it. And frankly, some of the votes are a lot different than people would have thought, but it's the vote of the people is taking care of it. And, when you think about the Democrats are really the radical ones in this because they're allowed to do abortion on the 8th and 9th month and even after birth. If you look at your new governor from Minnesota, he's like the governor previous, the former governor. I don't want to get him mixed up because Glenn is doing a good job and he's leading our whole campaign in Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. But previous to Glenn, the governor, he said the baby will be born. We will put the baby aside and we will decide with the mother what we're going to do. In other words, whether or not we're going to kill the baby. The Minnesota gentleman, this guy agrees with that. He is the most liberal. Look, between her and him, there's never been anything like this. There's never been a combination. So I'll use the word progressive. They want to go progressive. They don't like the word liberal. I like liberal better. I think it's more appropriate because nobody knows what progressive means. But they now like to use the word progressive. But there's certainly never been anybody so liberal like these two, or even close. I think the abortion issue has been taken down many notches. I don't think it's a big factor anymore, really. And when people hear what I said in the debate, and I think I said it very well during the debate, we brought it back to the states. Everybody wanted it in the states. And very importantly, and you think about this, assuming you have exceptions. If you don't have exceptions, it's a more difficult thing. At the same time, there are people that strongly feel that way, and you have to follow your heart, and you should follow your heart. But that issue is very much subdued. Yeah, thank you. About who?
Attempt?
Yes.
Did the fact that somebody used an AR-15 gun at all change your impression of people's access to that weapon?
No, I didn't. Look, if you take away guns, she wants to take away everyone's gun. If you take away guns, you can't do it because people need the guns for protection. Now, entertainment they wanted, hunting they would, different things. But they need weapons for protection in this country. People live out in the woods and they're not going to have a gun. If you look at some countries, I don't want to get them in trouble, but some countries have actually gone the opposite way. They had very strong gun laws, and now they have gone the opposite way, where they allowed people to have guns, where in one case they encouraged people to go out and get guns, and crime is down 29%. And remember this, what is the toughest gun law in the United States? Chicago. On July 4th, 117 people were shot and 17 died. The toughest gun laws in the United States are in the city of Chicago. You know that. They had 117 people shot. Afghanistan does not have that. Afghanistan, by the way, was the lowest point in our country, in my opinion. That was the worst embarrassment of the history of this country. And I say Putin would not have gone into Ukraine if that didn't happen. When he saw the incompetence of Milley and all these guys that are incompetent, when he saw that happen, when they took out the soldiers first, if you go back and check your records, for 18 months, I had a talk with Abdul. Abdul was the leader of the Taliban, still is.
Just saying.
I had a strong talk with him. For 18 months, not one American soldier was shot at or killed, but not even shot at. 18 months, and then we had the disaster of the lift where people were falling off airplanes.
Did he kind of just prop Milley up a little bit right there?
Yep. I mean, terrible.
You know that TV
but,
general?
Now our country has to be respected again. Please
ask me about him again after the press conference.
Go ahead, please.
Said she might be open to the idea of a weapons embargo against Israel. I wonder if you could comment on that and what that might mean for the conflict.
I'd be against it.
And also on the
But
assassination.
Kamala is in favor of not giving Israel weapons. Yeah, that's what I hear. Look, she's been very, very bad to Israel, and she's been very bad to Jewish people. And I say it, if anybody I know is Jewish and they would vote for Kamala over me, they should have their head examined. If you think about it, I gave them Golan Heights. I gave them the capital of Israel, Jerusalem. I built the embassy. I gave them no Iran deal. The problem is they didn't do anything with it. Iran was broke. We could have made a deal so easily. I would have had a deal done within 1 week after the election with Iran. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. We would have gotten along with Iran. I was looking forward to it. I was fine with Iran. You know, we hit them a couple of times pretty hard, but we would have been fine with Iran. But I terminated that deal. I got them the Abraham Accords. Everyone said that's impossible. I got them the Abraham Accords. She's been very, very bad to Israel, and she's been very bad and disrespectful to Jewish people. And any Jewish person that votes for Kamala and her friend, her new friend, who I don't know if she knew him before, but I don't think he's too good. But anybody that votes for them, if you're Jewish or if you love Israel, you have to have your head examined. Go ahead, please.
The shooter, Matthew Crooks, and I was wondering if the FBI and the Secret Service are doing a decent job.
They have. The FBI came to see me about the shooter. I think they've done a very good job. And I think they did a very good job with respect to this other lunatic that they have in custody. Please.
Around Vice President Harris's relationship with Willie Brown,
Yeah.
former mayor of San Francisco, and how that might have intersected with her career trajectory. So I'm just wondering if you followed that discussion at all and have any thoughts on that.
Well, I know Willie Brown very well. In fact, I went down in a helicopter with him. We thought maybe this is the end. We were in a helicopter going to a certain location together, and there was an emergency landing. This was not a pleasant landing, and Willie was he was a little concerned. So I know him pretty well. I mean, I haven't seen him in years, but he told me terrible things about her. But this is what you're telling me anyway, I guess. But he had a big part in what happened with Kamala. But he I don't know, maybe he's changed his tune, but he was not a fan of hers very much at that point.
Would certify your election victory if you win?
Yeah, I do. Go ahead.
Oh man, I got some good stuff for after this press conference.
I know. I'm watching your screen.
Well, I'm going to announce that. I'm going to actually have a press conference on that at some point in the near future, so I don't want to tell you now. But Florida does have a vote coming up on that, and I think probably the vote will go in a little more liberal way than people thought. But I'll be announcing that at the appropriate time. Please.
Whoa, what was that?
Coming up, fairly soon and potentially expiring. And I wanted to ask you specifically about the tax code favoring parents versus people who don't have children. There are a number of tax breaks for parents.
Oh, we gave tremendous for child care and all of that. No, our tax cuts, which are the biggest in history, our tax cuts are coming due, as you know, very soon. And if the Democrats don't renew them or make it impossible to renew because it's pretty close in terms of vote, if they don't renew them, it's the equivalent of having a 4 times tax increase from what you have right now, and it'll destroy the economy. I think they're under tremendous pressure to do it. I've never seen, all my life I grow up and I watch politics, and I used to be on the other side of politics, then I run for office. But in all the years of studying politics, I've never seen people get elected by saying, we're going to give you a tax increase. These guys get up, think of it. We're going to give you no security. We're going to give you a weak military. We're going to give you no walls, no borders, no anything. We're going to, all these things they're doing. I mean, the transgender became such a big thing, but they do all of these things, but they always say, we're going to give you a tax increase. I never heard anybody campaign on a tax increase. A politician has always said, I will cut taxes. I'll give you one example. Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. I am going to leave Social Security. I'm not raising the years. I'm not raising the age. I will be saving Social Security, and I'm going to work it out that there's no tax on Social Security for seniors. I'm also doing no tax on tips. No tax on tips. So waiters, waitresses, caddies, people that drive cars, people that get tips who have been harassed by this government.
Dude,
we're
I
going to
write
have
it
no
on every
tax
receipt.
on tips. That's a big
Every receipt.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Sure. Because other people have done far bigger things than Steve Bannon. Sure. It's politically motivated. I think it's a horrible thing they did. Look, they've weaponized government against me. Look at the Florida case. It was a totally weaponized case. All of these cases, by the way, the New York cases are totally controlled out of the Department of Justice. They sent their top person to the various places. They went to the AG's office, got that one going. Then he went to the DA's office, got that one going, ran through it.
I think
No, this is all politics, and it's a disgrace. Never happened in this country. It's common.
I think it is too.
Not in our country. It happens in banana republics and third world countries, and that's what we're becoming. We have no borders. We have bad voting regulations. Anytime you have mail-in ballots, you're going to have problems. France learned that lesson. France had all mail-in voting, and they went back to paper ballots, voter identification, voter ID. They went back to a normal system, one-day voting. They don't want to be around, voting for 64 days. And look, the election, I keep talking about November 5th, but the election really starts on September 6th. That's when it starts because it's early voting. We should have one-day voting. We should have paper ballots. We should have voter ID, and we should have proof of citizenship, please.
Amen.
No, the gentleman in back. For who? You're going to have to talk louder, sir. Elon is a very different kind of a guy. He's a very big believer in the country, but he's very worried about the country. He's very worried about the country. And I don't know if it's good for him politically to have supported me, although I think we have a vast majority of this country does support me. But Elon, more than almost anybody I know, I mean, he loves this country. He loves the concept of the country. But like me, he says this country is in big trouble. It's in tremendous danger. Okay, please.
Economy. What message?
I like this guy.
What message?
like him.
What message do you have to Americans, sir, who are struggling to pay for everyday life, such as groceries, rent?
The polls have suggested. There are some polls that say we're going to win in a landslide. People are voting with their stomachs,
Real ones.
meaning
Yeah,
they're going to the
again,
grocery
that's interesting to
store,
me.
50, 60, 70% more
In
for food.
2020, all he was talking about was it being stolen.
Look at what's happened to energy. Look at what's happened not only to their cars, where gasoline's gone from $1.87, $1.87.
I can't believe how long
And
it's gone.
we had moments when it was below that, but it's gone from $1.87 to $5, $6, and $7. And they take the strategic national reserves and they take it out, even though it's peanuts compared, it doesn't last long. But they're virtually empty now. We've never had it this low. And he's using that to keep the gasoline prices as low as possible. He's sucked all of the oil out, essentially the gasoline, to keep the price down a little bit, and it's had very little impact. But you know what? We have no strategic national reserves now. He's emptied it. It's almost empty. It's never been this low. And I had it at a good level, and I would have had it more if the Democrats would have approved the deal. You know, I had a deal to buy it at $22 a barrel, and now it's going to be close to 100 pretty soon, my opinion. And the Democrats didn't want to do that, but we bought a lot anyway. And we had it pretty good. And what they've done to the national reserves, the strategic national reserves, is, as you know very well, because you cover it, but what they've done is incredible. They've just, for the sake of getting some votes, for the sake of having gasoline, you know, that's meant for wars. It's meant for like tragedy. It's not meant to keep a gasoline price down so that somebody can vote for Biden, or in this case, Kamala, who, by the way, is worse than Biden. And she's actually not as smart. Okay? She's actually not as smart. That's hard to believe, isn't it? Yeah, please.
Abortion questions. There are other things the federal government could do, not just a ban. Would you direct your FDA, for example, to revoke access to mifepristone? That's one of the things
So
that's
you
been
could
discussed.
do things that would supplement, absolutely. And those things are pretty open and humane. But you have to be able to have a vote. And all I want to do is give everybody a vote. And the votes are taking place right now as we speak. Yeah. But it's there are many things on a humane basis that you can do outside of that. But you also have to give a vote, and the people are going to have to decide. Okay. Yes, please. You.
President Biden?
On what?
I know you said you think you're very.
No, I think she's actually not as smart as he is.
Well, you said you think you're very.
I don't think he's very smart either. But
I know
I'm not a big fan of his brain. But I think that she's actually not as smart as he is.
What?
In the polls, it's becoming a more competitive race since she's taken over.
Well, she's a woman. She represents certain groups of people. But I will say this. When people find out about her, I think she'll be much less. And I see it right now. I see her going way down on the polls now. Now that people are finding out that she destroyed San Francisco, she destroyed the state of California along with Governor Gavin Newsom. He's been a terrible governor, terrible. But they did it together. And she was early. I mean, she was the first of the prosecutors, really. You know, now you see Philadelphia, you see Los Angeles, you see New York, you see various people that are very bad. But she was the first of the bad prosecutors. She was early. Who?
Will your White House do daily press briefings? Will you commit to that?
Would you repeat that, please?
Your White House.
No, you. Would you repeat her, what she said? You have to speak up. This room is very...
When you're
Louder.
elected, will you commit to your White House doing daily press briefings?
Do you hear her? Daily press briefing? Why would I do that? I would give you all the press briefings you want. Look what I'm doing here. But why would I do a daily press? You'd get tired of me very fast. No, but I will give you total access, and you'll have a lot of press briefings, and you'll have from me. Now, are you talking about from me or from a press secretary? Well, yeah, probably they'll do something. If it's not daily, it's going to be a lot. You'll have more than you want. Yeah, please.
Would you consider granting clemency or a pardon?
I don't think it's appropriate for me to talk about it. I think it's a tragic story. You want to know the truth. And I felt that with Hillary Clinton, too. You know, with Hillary Clinton, I could have done things to her that would have made your head spin.
Whoa.
I thought it was a very bad thing. Take the wife of a president of the United States and put her in jail. And then I see the way they treat me. That's the way it goes. But I was very protective of her. Nobody would understand that, but I was. I think my people understand it. They used to say, lock her up, but I'd say, just relax. Please.
Yeah, we understand you had to set the precedent first, sir. It's cool.
I think it would have been
He
horrible
said
for our country.
Just relax.
And we had her between the hammering of all of the files. And don't forget, she got a subpoena
Honestly,
from the United
he should
States
be in jail.
Congress. And then after getting the subpoena, she destroyed everything that she was supposed to get. I thought it was so bad to take her and put her in jail, the wife of a president of the United States. And then when it's my turn, nobody thinks that way. I thought it was a very terrible thing. And she did a lot of very bad things. I'll tell you what, she was pretty evil. But in terms of the country and in terms of unifying the country, bringing it back, to have taken her and to have put her in jail, and I think you know the things as well as I do. There were some pretty bad acts that she did. I think it would have been very bad for our country. And a lot of my people, a lot of the MAGA, as they call them, but the base. And I think the base is 75% of the country, far beyond the Republican Party, because we're a party of common sense. And I'm a person of common sense. I want to have low taxes. I want to have strong borders. I want to have a strong military so that China and Russia, look, they've allowed China and Russia to do the impossible combined. They're natural enemies. They always have been, because China needs more land and Russia has it. They've always been natural enemies. And because of Obama, it started with him. And then Biden, because he didn't know what the hell he was doing, they've now become one force. And then now they're adding Iran to it, and they're adding North Korea to it. Pretty powerful force.
Just over here talking about the Tri-Sovereign Alliance and shit.
That they allowed to happen.
On this, you're saying today you're not going to change your campaign strategy. You're going to keep going with the issues. But what if this so-called honeymoon period doesn't end? And
It's going to
can't break away from
The honeymoon period's going to look. She's got a little period. She's got a convention coming up. It's about policy. It's not about her. I think she's incompetent because I've watched her. She destroyed California. She destroyed San Francisco. Everything she's touched has turned to bad things. I'm not going to use foul language, but everything she's touched has turned bad. She's incompetent. The reason she's not doing what I do and she's not doing what she should be doing, she won't even do interviews with friendly people because she can't do better than Biden. Now, he had a reason for not doing well, and he was never 25 years ago the sharpest or brightest bulb in the ceiling. That I can tell you. Okay, he wasn't. But he could do interviews at least. Not lately, he couldn't, perhaps. But she should be doing interviews. She doesn't want to do interviews. And the reason she doesn't is, number one, her policies are so bad. Just to answer your question, I think that it's not going to change because it's really ultimately not about her as much as about her policies. She wants open borders. She wants to defund the police. She wants to defund the police. She wants to take away your guns. Anybody that thinks they're not going to come after your guns, when I was president, I totally protected the guns. And I think it's very important. And I know I take some heat sometimes for it, but you have to have safety. You have to have, when the bad guy walks in with a gun, you got to have some way of protecting yourself. And boy, you would see crime go up at levels that you've never seen. When people say on the side of the house, this house has guns, we will use the guns, they say, let's pass. We'll go someplace else. You have to have them. And for 4 years, and as you know, the NRA endorsed me very powerfully every time I ran, every time. My sons are members, and I guess indirectly I'm a member too. But they gave me the strongest of endorsements, and that's against very strong competition. People that felt the same way. No, you have to have that right. Our Second Amendment is a very important right, and it has to be protected. Okay, how about you? Go ahead. Yeah.
He's going to do this all day.
So there are some of the most brilliant people on Wall Street that are saying that if President Trump doesn't win, you're going to have a depression. I happen to agree. I think that's true. Because I know how bad these people are. You know, they like to say that they did this and that. You saw the 7 trillion that they said it was me for 7 trillion. It wasn't me. It was them. They said that I had inflation. They took over 9% inflation. No, I had 1% inflation. I had actually no inflation, because if you look at the categories, we had just about no inflation. But I had a very minor, I actually had a positive inflation. It was a perfect number, because you don't want zero. No inflation. But I had, and I'm not going to give you a whole course of economics, but you don't want zero. 1%, 1.4% is great. You want a little bit, because you don't want to have deflation. Deflation is in many ways even worse. I had a perfect number right around the 1% number. It was perfect. And to show you, it stayed there for 2 years. And then he did all of the different borrowings that he did. And then he did so many things wrong. Every time he would do it, I'd say, big mistake. And don't forget, they sell hats and they sell stories. Trump was right about everything. I've been right about a lot. Yes, Maggie. Well, we had a commission like other people do, and it's always complicated and it's always controversial. And we had commissions that, and I think of respected people, you know, many of the people on the commission, and they would recommend to me people, you know, many of the people on the commission, and they would recommend to me certain pardons for certain people. Some people were treated very harshly. A fantastic woman, as you know, she served 24 years for being on a phone call having to do with drugs. You know who I'm talking about. She was great. And she had another 24 years to go. And it was largely about marijuana, which in many cases is now legalized, okay? But we had many very highly regarded people on a commission, and they'd recommend, and they'd put a reason why. Some people were, you know, served time, but they served a lot of time for something that today people wouldn't even serve time by. Well, for the most part, I think they did. I mean, they did. They go through. They went through. I had a commission. It was a very important commission to me, and highly respected people. And frankly, they came up with some decisions that I wouldn't necessarily agree with, but I did it. But I let a lot of people out that had no representation. I went to people in jails, in prison that we respected. I said, how many of these people should be let out? We let out large groups of low-income people that were serving like 40 years for something that today you wouldn't even be put in jail for. We had very few people let out because I said, I really don't want to let people out where they had a lot of violence, where they had killing, et cetera, et cetera. And for the most part, we didn't do that. Yeah, please.
More of a say over the Fed on issues like the interest rate? And do you think that you
On
can manage over the Federal Reserve? And do you think that you can manage a soft landing in the economy given with the current leadership in place?
Right. Well, look, the Federal Reserve is a very interesting thing, and it's sort of gotten it wrong a lot. And he's tending to be a little bit late on things. He gets a little bit too early and a little bit too late. And, you know, that's very largely it's a gut feeling. I believe it's really a gut feeling. And I used to have it out with him. I had it out with him a couple of times very strongly. I fought him very hard. And, you know, we get along fine. We get along fine. But I feel the president should have at least say in there. Yeah, I feel that strongly. I think that in my case, I made a lot of money. I was very successful. And I think I have a better instinct than, in many cases, people that would be on the Federal Reserve or the chairman. Yeah.
Prison for marijuana. Yeah. Harris supports rescheduling marijuana and also says that no one should go to prison for a marijuana offense. Do you agree with those positions?
Well, as we legalize it, I start to agree a lot more because, you know, it's being illegalized all over the country. Florida has something coming up. I'll be making a statement about that fairly
That's fucking interesting.
But as we legalize it throughout the country, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's awfully hard to have people all over the jails that are
I don't recall
right
ever hearing a conservative take that stance with marijuana.
So I think obviously there's a lot of sentiment to doing that. Yeah, please.
Thank you, BJJ. It means the world.
She went to a historically black college. How is she only recently deciding to be black?
Well, you'll have to ask her that question because she's the one that said it. I didn't say it. So you'll have to ask her. And I very much appreciate that question, but you'll have to ask her. But I've known her for a long time. I actually contributed to her campaign a long time ago because I was a developer. I contributed to lots of campaigns of Democrats, Republicans, and some were liberal and some were conservative. But you'll have to ask her about that. But to me, it doesn't matter. But to her, from her standpoint, I think it's very disrespectful to both, really. Whether it's Indian or black, I think it's very disrespectful to both. To me, it doesn't matter. Please, red dress.
On the assassination, is your ear fully recovered? Is there a scar? Do you have any brain damage?
Pretty much recovered, yeah. I'm a fast healer. It's a hell of a shot, but I'm a fast healer. Yeah, pretty much recovered. No, it didn't hit that. I got very lucky. It just hit the lobe, as they call it.
On your ear?
Yeah, a little bit, not much. On
Mr.
top.
President, I want to ask you about your mass on immigration.
A little bit.
It's an immigration question. You've been running on the idea of mass deportations. You say the biggest in American history is basically what you want. When Senator Vance has been asked about that, he's sort of suggested that really you only need to go after people who've been convicted of crime.
Well, we're starting that. Yeah.
So what are you really talking about here? How will you pay for it? And do you think you can?
We are going to start the largest mass deportation in the history of our country because we have no choice. It's not sustainable. And we are going to start with violent criminals, and we're going to start then with criminals. And our local police is going to work with us because they know everything about the people. They know their names. They know everything about them. They know their middle name. They know their numbers. And as you know, the other side is trying. Look, for years I wondered, why are they allowing these people to come in at levels like this? It was incredible. And I said 2 reasons. They're either really stupid, and I don't believe they're stupid, because anybody that can cheat in elections like they cheat is not stupid. Or, in the alternative, they have bad motives or they hate our country. And I used to think they hate our country. But lately I've seen where they're trying to sign these people up.
I'm a fast healer, dude.
And they have to stop. They cannot let illegal immigrants vote in this upcoming election. All right, one more question.
I'm a fast healer.
Go ahead, one more. Make it a good one, please.
Regarding Social Security taxes for seniors,
Right.
we talked about a while. Experts say that the policy could increase the deficit by 1.6 trillion. So how would it work in your view?
We have so many ways of making money in this country. We're not going to affect our Social Security. We're not changing it. And I proved that over 4 years. And we're going to do it. It's very unfair to people. They spend their life and they're great citizens and they pay in. We're not going to charge tax to Social Security, the seniors. We're not going to do it. We're not going to charge. And also tax. I say the 2 things. We're going to have no tax on seniors, Social Security, and we're going to have no tax on tips. Very simple. And we are a country that has so many different ways to make money. We have under our feet more liquid gold, I call it oil and gas, than any country in the world, much more than Saudi Arabia, much more than Russia. We have so many different ways we can make money. We're not going to hurt our seniors with Social Security, and we're not going to charge them tax. Okay?
If sanctuary cities or municipalities are unwilling to cooperate, how do you plan to enforce that and use the federal?
We should not have sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities is a way of protecting criminals, and we should not have sanctuary cities. And if you go to California, and I know it well, I have property out there, great property. If you go to California and you ask the people of California, do they like the idea of sanctuary cities? They don't like it. They're tired of it. They're tired of crime. They're tired of what's happened to our country. Our country's become a crime-ridden mess, and we're going to stop it on November 5th. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
My man is a savage.
Well-
Just disappears into the hallways of the winter White House, bro.
Bro, that was pretty fire. He banged off the board quite a few times, and he had a pretty stern and serious tone through that whole thing too, man. In the beginning there, when he was talking about all the danger and stuff, it certainly seemed to be coming off as like a, hey, something big is about to happen. Y'all better be prepared, which banging off not that one. I'm a dumbass. 521 again. Scare necessary event. Do you trust the U.S. military? Do you trust the chain of command? Like, I think we're approaching that. And he talked about danger a lot, clear and present danger. Perhaps this one even mentions Russia and China. He went into a good bit there. He talked about Biden there. He talked about a lot of shit, and then he talked about the $22 $22 a barrel. I just thought that because he followed it up without naming the price that it ended up going to. So he throws the 22 in there out of nowhere, and that's of course the famous who controls the NG drop. I don't know, man. That whole thing was littered with Q nuggets. The favorite one, I'll pull this one up. We can spend a second on this if you want, Joe. Is said that one of those debates is going to be on September 25th. Let me make this a little bit larger because that's like writing on a grain of rice right there. But there we see September 14th through 18th, 21st through 25th track and follow events. That's really, really interesting. I kind of think Merchan's going to sentence him to jail time. And of course it'll be, he won't have to show up till after the election, right? So he'll win the election and something will probably happen that'll over to like SCOTUS will probably come over the top and basically say, you are out of your fucking mind, dude. We're throwing this out. But something's going to happen there because his sentencing, I think, is September 18th. So it would be before that debate. And Trump said himself, there's going to be a whole lot coming out in these debates, going to reveal a whole lot. So man, I cannot believe how hard the board is getting hit right now and how this shit's just lining up. Like, pinch me. I'm surely making some of this up in my head, right? Like, it's not hitting as much as I'm seeing it hitting. Is it? It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah, yes, it's on fire. Can we address this? We got to talk about this. Have you seen the Woo's News video about January 6th?
Maybe.
He just said nobody died on January 6th.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty big. And he didn't correct himself either.
No, and we had somebody in the chat. Look, I try to be sensitive to everybody's feelings, right? We're not Democrats, but like you should still respect each other. I think that we need to operate with nothing but love and respect in our hearts. So I believe that many people believe that certain things are real, right? It's why I got told to shut up about the assassination attempt. There's some pretty damning evidence that Ashley Babbitt did not pass away. And for Donald Trump to straight up say, look, that's not like a small mistake. Nobody died on January 6th. I can't wait till this is over so I can go clip that and put it with a couple other things that I have and post it because that was a bomb, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, that was we were both like, whoa, what the hell was that, man? I've talked about that before, dude. I certainly don't believe that everything is fake or that everybody we see get shot is an actor, crisis actor. I don't get on board all the cloning mask stuff. I don't dismiss shit. If you haven't learned that yet by watching Eye of the Storm, I keep an open end to a lot of things because we don't know what we don't know, right? That said, the Babbitt one is one where I'm like, look, as a dude who spent a chunk of his life cruising Gore Gallery and Rotten.com and Ogrish and LiveLeak and Watch People Die, and as somebody who's seen quite a few videos of people getting shot, she got shot in the neck at point blank range. She certainly wasn't bleeding that much for somebody that got shot in the neck. And look, maybe she is dead. Maybe it really happened. I don't dismiss that either, but I've seen a lot of things I could ask questions with on that, man. I mean,
if you haven't seen the Woo's News, I gotta send it to you.
Yeah, you have to because and look to give a disclaimer. I can't honestly stomach wise, I can't handle that shit anymore. I can't watch those kind of videos anymore. They instantly turn my stomach, like make me pay off. Just all of a sudden developed a weak stomach for that kind of shit. Unless it's like legit street justice, then I can sit there and watch popcorn and eat the shit all day. But it's like sidetracked for a second. I kind of wondered why I went down that rabbit hole and watching and kind of ingesting all that shit. And now I see with all the stuff we got led to research on and the darkness and depravity of that, it was almost like a desensitizing thing for me to be able to handle the research we had to get involved in, especially with the Pizzagate kind of stuff, right? But no, I'm just telling you, every video I've ever seen in my life, we're talking hundreds of people getting shot and people getting shot in the neck, shot in the head. It bleeds a lot, especially in the neck. And there's a couple minutes there where she's laying on the ground and it's like, it's just not correlating, man. And I'm not meaning to disrespect anybody. I'm not meaning to dismiss anything. You know, I just don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. So I'm hesitant to say one way or the other, you know, because I don't want to be that guy that's the disrespectful dick disrespecting somebody that died. But I got questions.
Thank you. Okay, so I appreciate that, and I want to emphasize that I have the same sentiment. Right? Again, I don't mean to hurt anyone's feelings. I'm gonna send you this Woo's News video because there was people that were present, like Jaden X. Now, hindsight's 2020. I now am of the belief that this couldn't have happened without full information control. This operation couldn't have. I don't see how it could have if we didn't have some level of control over the information, the media, right? So Jaden X gets paid so many, 10 or 20, whatever it was, thousands of dollars to go in, document, come out and give that stuff to left-wing media. And him and some other people, the acting that you will be presented with in this video is so absurd that it's impossible for it to be real in my eyes. Like the one little chubby fat white kid that came out and showed his hand with the blood, and he's like, it's not a game anymore. He yells at the dude. It's cringeworthy. They in this Woo's News video, it breaks down every second of the Ashley Babbitt thing, and when I watch it, it truly makes me question it all. And that is the basis that I attacked the assassination attempt with. So if they're capable of doing that, and Donald Trump just told us nobody died on January 6th, then in my eyes, they're capable of anything you can see in the movies, right? I've listened to Sean Mott talk about, well, how did the hydraulic line break? There was just too many witnesses. Well, you know what? I've watched one or two movies before, and they were more convincing. And I know they were fake.
You're not wrong, man.
Right. They're capable. If anybody thinks that the fourth PSYOP group, just for lack of a better title, right? That's the one we know of, Ghost in the Machine, Ghost in the Machine 2, all the videos they put out, told us straight up that anything we touch is a weapon. They told us straight up the world is a stage. They told you straight up we are everywhere. And everything we watch has anomalies within it that look like they're placed there on purpose so that we question. January 6th, look, I got set off. My brain got set off when Donald Trump just said that. That's
right.
And here's the other thing. All of those questions they just gave Donald Trump, and how come nobody said, why did you retruth a post that was signed Q+?
Because they're terrified to ask it. Because they know once they ask that question, it's done. You're not putting that genie back in the bottle. That's the thing. That's
why would none of them ask that?
Either that or they just don't want to give guys like us even more traffic because they know the second they ask that shit, it's going to basically legitimize every Q show out there. And Q influencer, and Q article, and Q Substack, all of it. Please ask the damn question. Hell, yeah, I'll answer it. Ask it. Let's go.
Right. He just came out, gave you a press conference, answered questions for 45 minutes, and nobody acknowledges what he just did on Truth Social. The retruthing rampage he just did with tons of Q stuff.
Nah.
It's called trolling.
Why are we going to do that? It's,
we do a little trolling. It's called we do a little trolling.
Abs, here's another great question. How come nobody... I got so much stuff going through my head right now. How come nobody has asked him why he said that we're sort of having my second term right now? That's a huge thing. Why is no one in the media asked him that?
I'll tell you why. If you've ever been in a relationship where somebody's cheated on you and you know they're cheating on you, but you don't want to ask, it's because you don't want to hear the answer. That's why they're not asking. They don't want to hear the answer.
Am I going to be considered a 2-term or a 3-term president? And nobody asks him what the hell he meant?
Right. right? Like, nobody seems to be putting in the mainstream anyway, putting this shit together about, maybe you'll get 12 years of me. Just come on, man.
They've given Trump full reign to say whatever he wants, and they don't ask him about those things. They ask him about some made up bullshit that they're like, to be honest, what I think is they do made up stuff, and it's becoming more and more absurd until everyone notices. But they don't ask him about the real things he says.
Right. It's super interesting. It's just, they just dance around it because they know they basically refuse. They don't ask him about Q, and they don't ask him about the commander-in-chief thing because that's basically devolution or continuity government or whatever is going on there. They don't want the answer because they know the answer. They know it means they're fucked.
What would you do with 10 minutes alone with completely honest Donald Trump?
Oh, man, that's a good one. That's a good question. Because, like, the immediate answer is, like, well, I want to talk to him about all the obvious shit. Q, all this stuff going on, but then the other part of me is like, no, I just kind of want to hang out with him as a dude without any of this shit attached. Like,
I want to know who the 3 non-military are.
That's a good one. I'd probably, because it's a thing that got me into conspiracies. If I had 10 minutes alone with him, and because I know he knows, I'd have to ask him for the straight up truth on the JFK assassination. Who really did it? Who pulled it off? Who pulled the kill shot off? Where exactly did it come from? Just for me personally, because that one's taken up so much of my energy and time in my life, I would love to have that answer, even though I'm fairly certain, a bunch of us through the digging have kind of figured out the who's, what's, why's, all of that stuff. But it would still be nice to just know,
Yeah. What was on the note handed out in the Bush funeral?
Yes. See, and we've talked about that before. I just think it was a picture. I think it was a picture of one of those dudes swinging in the gallows, whether it be McCain or Pappy Bush. Like, the reactions were so quick, unless it was a really short note. But, like, say if it was a really short note by somebody they all knew and trusted, say W, right? Say it was a short note from W that said, sorry guys, told them everything, signed by George W. or even George H.W. Bush. That would do it. Or pictures of these people they held up as these untouchables that have been gotten for being traitors and got traitors justice. That just makes the most sense to me. I mean, Jeb literally turned white in about a second and a half. He went straight pale. To me, the only kind of thing you could see that would evoke that kind of a visceral reaction, that kind of a straight up fearful reaction, would be, oh shit, that's my dad and he's hanging from a gallows. Like, that's just kind of whatever was either written on that piece of paper, whatever picture was on that piece of paper, rattled everybody who looked at it like that. There wasn't a lot of time to sit there and read through multiple paragraphs of a note or even indictments or stuff like that. It was something quick and to the point and real that literally yanked these people's hearts out right then and there. It's unbelievable.
What would you rather see if you were given the opportunity to choose one and see it completely 100% truthful? Would it be that note or the Epstein list?
Oh, probably the Epstein list. Because I think
everyone says that. I disagree.
I think if you knew the Epstein list, right, then you could pretty much put together what was on that note.
See, I'm of the mindset, because I've thought about this when I've actually posted that question. I'm of the mindset that I 1000% believe, 1017% believe that the Epstein list is being used to take down whatever human trafficking around the world. I believe it's being used to save children. So I believe that with my heart and soul. So I'm okay with not seeing it because I believe it's in the hands of the good guys. That note, I really, really, really want to see it, bro.
That's a good point. And I think the very same thing about that Epstein list, man, because look at all the people that have went down since Maxwell went down, right? Jean-Luc Brunel went down. You had Peter Nygaard. These guys were previously untouchables. You know what I mean? You've had the stuff with the BBC getting outed, couple pedophiles over there getting outed. Dan Schneider from Nickelodeon. There have been busts all over the place with dozens and dozens of.
Jersey? I mean, I'm sorry, Virginia, right outside of DC.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then P Diddy, and it's where do you think they're getting all these names from? Where do you think they're getting all this information from? It's the list, and if the list is being used in an active investigation, it's not going to be released. I firmly believe that. It really. I get that people want to see it. Like, I totally get that, but at the same point, I don't see any other way these people that have been brought down over the last couple of years are being brought down without that list aiding in it. You know?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, did he kill himself, Fabs?
I don't think he did. No. And again, this is the kind of thing where Stormy nailed it earlier. I think some people who we are told are alive are probably not. I think some people we are told are dead are probably not. I'm not suggesting that white hats gave Epstein a deal. I'm suggesting that white hats may very well have said, we're getting you the hell out of here and plopping you over here because we've got to get a lot of information out of you, and that's how this is going to work. End of story. So I kind of think that's what's up with that one, man.
Yeah. And we were talking earlier, I think this ties in. There's certain events that happen where they make it very public, right? So Ashley Babbitt's one of them. And it becomes a thing that's plastered all over your television screen. And, the COVID death counter, Ashley Babbitt, January 6th, all the things that they've used, in my opinion, as a weapon within fifth generation warfare. Now, that being said, there's another side to that. There's certain events that have happened that get pretty much swept under the rug. Today's the anniversary of one. What happened in Hawaii, and why have we not talked about it again?
Right.
The other one that I think of, because I did a major dig on it, is the Christmas bombing in Nashville.
Yes.
So in that, if you really dig into that, bro, you will find out that there was military style gunfight prior to the explosion from the RV on Christmas morning that was telling everyone to get away because it was going to explode.
Those videos disappeared from the internet quick. They became real hard to find. I distinctly remember watching a video where it's from it seemed to be a CCTV camera, but it had audio, and it was from behind the RV that blew up. The back, it was looking behind the driver's side, so from the back left corner, looking over the RV, and you could hear like pow, 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 boom, and then the thing goes up, and then all of a sudden that shit is gone from the news cycle. So what the fuck went down in Nashville?
I'll tell you what I think.
Let me hear it, because I'm open to theories on this one.
7-Eleven shootings, Vegas shooting, Nashville Christmas bombing, Hawaii fires, the fires that all started simultaneously in Canada. I think what we're seeing is real kinetic warfare on our own soil. And when it's legit, it's swept. I mean, you can't help but like people know that they happen. So they hit the news and then they disappear. I think that those are real moments within the war. That's my opinion. So. And the things that they plaster all over your television screen and try to manipulate you emotionally with, like Ashley Babbitt, those are the things I question as far as reality is concerned. Right. I think they're all real to a level, but why did it happen, and why are they messaging them certain ways?
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, man. Those kind of moments, the Nashville bombing being a good one, those are probably very real moments in the war. Q did tell us we're at war, and there are moves and counter moves, and you were going to see them. So, and that's one of the reasons I don't lean on that everything we see is fake. And actually, you know what? The bigger reason I lean on that is because I refuse to underestimate the adversary. And when I say the adversary, I'm not talking about it. I'm not talking about it in terms of the deep state or the left. I'm talking about Satan. I don't underestimate that entity to pull off something to keep his control over this plane of existence. That's why I never necessarily look at everything at being fake off the rip. I'll dig into it and then see. But what I'm saying is that if something big does occur, I'm open to the idea that look, white hats could pull off a big ass false flag as good as the black hats and make it as convincing. But I don't dismiss the possibility that they do have one more trick up their sleeve to try to rein people back in or put them in fear. I don't think they can do it, but I don't put it past them. So that's all I'm saying. Like, just a healthy respect for your enemy is where I'm coming from. I don't like to overlook or downplay an enemy. It's kind of like if you play sports, you played lacrosse, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to imagine you probably played on a few pretty good teams. And I'm going to imagine that within that time playing, you probably came up on plenty of games where you were playing an opponent and you were like, man, we are going to beat the shit out of these guys. They've got a losing record. They're not that good. And then they completely showed you up and waxed your ass all over the field because you lowered yourself to their level, because you kind of looked at their record and you looked at their narrative, which would be their record and their stats. And you said, oh, we can beat these guys. We don't have to put in a full effort. And then you lost. That's why I never underestimate the devil and what he can pull off to try to stay in power. You no matter how much winning we're doing right now, you got to keep driving forward. We can't let up. We can't do nothing. We got to keep speaking truth. We've got to be involved with our friends, with our communities. We can't sit and be silent.
Abs, I apologize for what I'm about to address. I want everyone to know, first and foremost, that my opinion on this is going to not be anyone's opinion except for my own. Abs has nothing to do with what I'm about to say. I absolutely love the Flynn family. It is not a secret. I think General Flynn is a absolute hero in this movement. His aunt, Mary Flynn, helped support financially with the fight to get my son back. Flynn Jr. has nothing but my utmost respect. He was on the show, and I would have him on again anytime that he wants to. However, he is the one that told me to shut up about the assassination attempt. Is what it is. Doesn't hurt my feelings. I understand everyone's position within the movement. I actually completely love the dude. Him saying this, I will just say that I understand yet again that everyone has a position. And I have promised myself from the gate that I will never be anything other than honest. No one's ever going to buy or sell my opinion. If that makes me fail miserably, then so be it. I was taught when I went back as a second generation add-on, I was not on the boards originally, but what I took from those drops is that it was okay to dig and it was okay to speak the truth. Not only was it okay, but it was kind of demanded of us. So that's what I do. When we disagree, again, it may be because of our positions within the movement. Different people needing to be awakened in certain ways. Maybe it's just because we disagree. And if that's the case, that is just as respectable as having a position where you're talking to different audiences. I think that our position in this movement as people that dig on the drops and speak completely honestly, I think that we're just as important as the people that are at the top that are swaying the masses, because we would feel insane if we didn't have each other, the ones that see what we see. I support Donald Trump. I support the Flynns, including Flynn Jr. However, I don't always agree with them. That's
a fact, man. Look, personal experience. Okay, Patrick Gunnels. Me and Patrick have butted heads a few times in the past, right? Like to the point where our relationship had kind of gotten a little bit snipey. And once we actually had a few interactions, once we actually met in person at a couple GARTs and had a couple interactions in person, number one, I admitted that I was probably the one driving a lot of that because I felt Patrick can be very strong in his opinions, right? So when he would come at me with opinion, I was feeling attacked, which was kind of a bitch move, and I shouldn't have done that. And so kind of get going in a back and forth, and you can lose conversation. Once I meet the guy in person and realize that he's one of the kindest souls I've ever met in person, and you sit down and talk with him, you chat with him a little more, I'm realizing we're actually not that far apart on these things we were arguing about. He's a flat earther, which I don't care. I don't believe the earth is flat, but I've also said on this show and said I don't believe it's a perfect globe either. And that's where me and Patrick kind of found our common ground. Patrick was like, dude, that's it. He's like, he said, I'm not trying to force you to believe that the earth is flat. He said, just ask questions about it and realize that it's not what you're being told. And I'm like, dude, I absolutely agree with that. And so you absolutely nailed it. In so far as we got to be better about disagreeing with each other. I wasn't going to, but I released a new Substack. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it would take like 20 minutes to read it, but there is one section of it that I want to read that I'm going to pull up in a minute and read, because it's talking about unity and coming together and standing together with each other, basically. And it's taken me a second to scroll down to this, and then I'll pull it up. Give me 1 second here. There it is. All right. So, Joe, if you don't mind, I'm going to read this for a second because it's I feel like it's needed right now because the movement's getting pulled at pretty hard, and a lot of it, to my estimation, is coming from ego. And please understand that everything I'm about to say, y'all, I'm not beyond reproach on this shit. These are all things I have to work on better, not just to be better as an anon, but to be better as a Christian, to be better as a man, be better as a husband. And so this is where I'm coming at with this. I truly don't mean to offend anybody or upset anybody with this. And to be fair, really nobody has. Everybody's understood what I'm getting at here. So let me go ahead and give this a quick read. And this is, for context, the part before this in this article, I'm talking about prayer and how important it is, how often Q mentioned it in the drops, how often prayer and meditation within prayer is mentioned in the Bible. So that's where this part's springing off of. I said, quite frankly, I don't care if you're a Christian or not. I am, and I know what I believe. What you believe is between you and God. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. So long as you are not a Satanist, a pedophile, or a commie globalist, I can probably find common ground with you. I pray to Jesus Christ and only Jesus Christ. That being said, whatever benevolent deity it is that you pray to, you may want to go ahead and start praying and asking for their assistance in defeating the evil that is quickly encompassing the entire globe. And that brings me to my next point, unity. Unity is mentioned 52 times in the drops. It is also mentioned at least 60 times in the Bible. Unity is a key factor in overcoming evil and oppression. The adversary craves division. The adversary wants us to fight over whose religion is the best or the closest to God. It wants us fighting over which political ideology is the best. It wants us fighting over any and everything. Think of it this way, friends. Satanism is not the only dark religion or system of beliefs that we are fighting against. Satanism, Luciferianism, the Temple of Set, the Cult of Cthulhu, just to name a few. Some worship Satan, others worship Moloch or Baal, some Baphomet. My point is, our adversary certainly seems to know how to work together despite the differences in their beliefs in order to serve their adversary, darkness, evil, Satan. So what exactly is our problem? Why are Christians still fighting with other Christians about who worships Jesus the right way? Why do we look down upon those who practice Buddhism, Hindu, Judaism, Muslim, or any other belief so long as they are benevolent and seek the same as us? And that is the vanquishing of evil from this plane. What do we as Christians gain from constantly attacking each other or people of other beliefs? We as Christians believe that Jesus Christ gives everybody one more chance to come to him. His grace, mercy, and forgiveness are beyond our comprehension. So why must we attack those that do not accept Jesus Christ? If they are to be saved, he will make his presence known. It is not up to us to browbeat people and tell them what they need to or should believe. Jesus didn't do that, nor did his apostles. I can also ask the very same of our Buddhist, Hindu, Jewish, and Muslim friends, as well as those from other beliefs. What exactly do you gain by constantly trying to attack Jesus Christ or Christian beliefs? Why waste the energy attacking something you don't believe in? I'll tell you what we gain. Nothing. Meanwhile, the adversary continues to gain ground while we piss and moan over who has a closer connection to God. It's ridiculous. We can do better, and I tell you what, we might want to go ahead and be better in this regard because time is running out. And look, I know plenty of folks from all spiritual beliefs who are just wonderful people with lovely souls. What I'm saying is certainly not directed toward every single person in this movement. My words are directed at those who still continue to attack others based on spiritual beliefs. Like I said, if the person you are arguing with is not a Satanist, pedo, or globalist, then maybe let the spiritual arguments go for a while so we can focus our collective energy on defeating the adversary. Guys, the other side doesn't give a shit who has a closer relationship with the devil. All they care about is that they are doing his work. We need the same attitude as spiritual warriors in a spiritual war, and that can also be tied into doing what is necessary. If we want to defeat Satan, then we have to be willing to work together for God despite our differences in how we worship him. I then quote a part from a Tool song named Schism, if you're unfamiliar with Tool. Quote, there was a time that the pieces fit, but I watched them fall away, mildewed and smoldering, strangled by our coveting. I've done the math enough to know the dangers of our second guessing, doomed to crumble unless we grow and strengthen our communication. Cold silence has a tendency to atrophy any sense of compassion. I said I'd mention the Tool song Schism again, and there it is. Communication. Communication is the next point I'd like to make. If we can communicate, then we can tackle the aforementioned points. If we communicate with God, we have prayer. If we communicate with each other, we have unity. And with prayer and unity, nothing can stop what is coming. As the song says, silence can atrophy compassion. We have seen this with COVID, where we've seen this firsthand.
COVID is a fine example. We cannot be silent. We cannot allow ourselves to crumble. Now is our time to rise. Communication also breeds faith and trust. Communicating with God strengthens your faith time and time again. Communicating with each other builds trust and faith in the person. And suffice to say, trust and faith are two very sturdy cornerstones for any foundation. And they are the two cornerstones we need the most right now. And how can we attain both? With honest communication, with God, with ourselves, and with each other. We have to be willing to have conversations. We have to be willing to be wrong. And we absolutely have to drop our egos. And I mean all of us, myself included. God knows I am not above reproach in regards to anything I'm saying. Right now, it is pretty simple. We either unite to wage war against Satan and his minions, or we can watch our way of life and sovereignty perish for good, at which point it won't matter what fucking arguments we have about God, because we'll be doing it from a gulag. And I'll leave it off right there. I was pretty fired up when I wrote that, because I'm tired of people arguing over these kind of differences while I'm sitting here watching our enemy, who themselves has different beliefs amongst each other, somehow able to work together to try to defeat us. And they present a strong front and all this messaging and dark bullshit they throw at us. And yet we want to sit back here and argue over who may be worshiping God the right way. How about we worry about that after we win the war? How about we have some discussions and find our common ground so we can keep Satan from taking this planet over? How about that? That's kind of where I'm coming from with that. And like I said, dude, I'm a human. I make mistakes. I fail in all those things I mentioned on a daily basis, but I always try to make better at it. I always try to recognize those failures and grow from them. And I'm sorry if I ruffled any feathers with that. I hope I didn't, but we need to be better at unity and conversation and understanding in this movement with each other, especially.
Bro, you just summed up everything I believe in. So first and foremost, bravo. That was brilliant. Everybody should go follow your Substack. I believe that we're going through a bit of guided ascension right now. And I think that that is the way. That's the lesson. The lesson is to unify under one purpose. And you can even go a step further than just God. Freedom, family, country, friends, our children, right? I believe they all are an umbrella topic under God.
Yes.
I also believe that the very good guys, the ones that we call white hats or whatever it might be, are using their what would be a strength, as you just talked about, where they have differing opinions but still unify behind one purpose. I think the good guys are using that against them, and they're making it so extreme that it's becoming difficult for them to continue to follow in what they're doing.
Yeah,
it's freaking brilliant, bro. It's brilliant.
It's become so extreme that it's almost becoming impossible to defend unless you literally are one of these communists or Satanists. And so in that design, it's absolutely brilliant in outing who these people are. To me, that's divine, dude. I've said it time and time again, this death cult that we're up against, they've been around for thousands of years, dude. They roll around in the darkness, in the shadows, behind the curtains. Why all of a sudden is literally every motive of theirs out on Front Street for all to see? It's because God has yanked the veil back. And now God is saying, all right, there's your truth. Now you guys go and fix it, because free will is a thing. I can't do it for you. You have to do it. There's the truth. What are you going to do with it? It really is up to us.
And while God and whoever it is that's leading this spiritual war, as far as the humans being led by God, splinter their unity, we need to realize that this is our opportunity to become one. No matter if we disagree on topics or anything that you just spoke about in that Substack, this is our chance to unify and continue the splintering of the demons that sit in front of us. It's freaking brilliant.
They hate it. They hate it, dude. I promise you, the adversary is watching people of various religions come together and say, you know what? You might not believe in Jesus Christ. That's fine with me. Let's get rid of this darkness that's overcoming everybody. And I understand what the Bible says, that Jesus Christ is the way to heaven. Nobody comes to the Father except through Christ, right? I fully believe that. But I go on in that article to say, dude, it's not my place to hate, condemn, or judge anybody that doesn't have Jesus Christ. You know what I do for those folks? I maintain friendships with them and pray for them that one day maybe Jesus Christ is found in their hearts and that they come to Him. Ultimately, I fully believe that Christ gives Himself to everybody at least once. Everybody will have at least one chance to come to Him. Some of them, it might be when they're gone from this plane and they're floating around wherever they're going to go next. Maybe that's when he makes his appearance. And look, you've got this chance to accept me. Maybe it happens on the deathbed. Maybe, as in my life, something happens that's super traumatic, and he kind of shows up, and you're like, oh shit. You know what I mean? He will come to folks, and they will either accept him or not. If they don't accept him, it's not on me to judge them for that. Just the same as I think Hindu beliefs are cool. They're very peaceful. There's a lot of it I dig, but I don't accept their gods. Okay. I don't want a Hindu person to start going off on me and slinging arrows at me because I don't believe in Vishnu or I don't believe in any of them. Okay. So we have to be better about that. We have to find ways to work with each other within what we have in common instead of like, stop focusing on what you don't have in common and focus on what you do have in common. I promise you, there's a lot more in common with a lot of us than there is uncommon. I promise that.
Well, I think what you're saying is brilliant, and I think that it's a great point to wrap on today. So I think that we've been going for almost 3 hours. That was an amazing hangout session with both of you. I think that message. Go ahead.
I have one more, and this last video, it's 2 minutes long. It ties into everything we just talked about from Unity. And of course, it's Mel Gibson giving the speech. It's from We Were Soldiers. But this speech is it. This is how I feel about all of us Anons, everybody fighting this movement right now, is that this speech is it. This is where we're about to walk into, heading into the election. We know things are going to get hairy. They're going to get turbulent. It's going to get crazy. We've got to have each other's backs. So this speech popped into my head today. Let's have a quick listen to this, and then we can scoot on out of here, brother.
Amen.
In the 7th Cavalry, we got a captain from the Ukraine, another from Puerto Rico. We've got Japanese, Chinese, blacks, Hispanics, Cherokee Indians, Jews and Gentiles, all Americans. Now here in the States, some men in this unit may experience discrimination because of race or creed. But for you and me now, all that is gone. We're moving into the valley of the shadow of death, where you will watch the back of the man next to you as he will watch yours. And you won't care what color he is or by what name he calls God.
Boom.
They say we're leaving home. We're going to what home was always supposed to be. So let us understand the situation. We are going into battle against a tough and determined enemy. I can't promise you that I will bring you all home alive.
The end won't be for everybody.
This I swear. Before you and before Almighty God, that when we go into battle, I will be the first to set foot on the field, and I will be the last to step off, and I will leave no one behind. Dead or alive, we will all come home together. So help me God.
Dude, I love that. But here, okay, so that speech wasn't Hollywooded. That was an actual speech. I know, right? I got the goosebumps too. That was an actual speech from Colonel Hal Moore before the 7th Cavalry deployed to Vietnam, right? Guys, that enemy Hal Moore was talking about is the enemy we're facing right now. He was talking about communists. And that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. You can't overlook them. They are a tough and hard enemy. They've been doing it for ages. Okay, we have to have each other's backs. And I remember when that movie first came out, I was like 18 or 19. And I loved the movie, obviously, but I didn't understand that line. You know, they say we're leaving home. No, we're going to what home was always meant to be. I didn't understand that line until recently. And what he's saying, and I'm sure it's obvious to many of you out there, is that it's like, no, once we step feet on that battlefield, none of this shit matters. We have each other's backs. We're brothers. There's unity. There's love. There's compassion. That's what home should be. And that's what he meant. And that's what we can bring to this country. Obviously not through violent means. That's the disclaimer. We haven't been violent to this point, and we're winning. You don't need to be violent. We have the knowledge, we have the truth at our side, we have God on our side. Just have to keep doing what we've been doing, man. But unity has to be the forefront, especially over these next 88 days. And with all the 8 comms flying around, isn't it a bit weird to you that the election is 88 days away on 8/8? That's just kind of,
yeah.
So I'll leave it off. I'll leave it off on that, man. It's as always, it's been a complete blast and fun time to hang out over here, man. It's like you always, or not always, but sometimes you say, man, are you sure like Thursdays or, you told me Wednesdays and Thursdays are kind of your Saturday and Sunday. It's like, do you really want a podcast on Thursdays? I'm like, bro, it's like a day off to me. I don't really have to plan the show. I just get to come over here, get high as shit all afternoon and bullshit about you. Like, this is fun for me. I really genuinely enjoy this, man. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, that means Joe, where's all the Pepes? All right, so somebody asked about the Pepes. Brenda, everybody commented that the Pepes were distracting. But if you guys feel different, please tell me in the Telegram. But every time that I brought them off, like I did for General Quast, because I'm not going to have a streaking Pepe while I'm talking to General Quast. Yeah, there they are.
There's your Pepes.
Look, you guys can vote. If you love the Pepes, I'll leave them up. But I was getting a lot of feedback that it was just a bit distracting. And full credit goes to Abs. He made this background and that one. So I had to tell Abs before the show. I'm like, hey, a lot of people are saying it's a little distracting. They love Pepe, but it's a little much. So I think we might go with this one for a little while and see if we get feedback on that. But that's it. That's the only reason.
It's fine. I mean, to be fair, I tend to chuckle every time I see the streak and Pepe run across too.
Yeah, so do I.
Can imagine having a serious conversation with somebody and there goes little Pepe with his sensor bar on and you're trying not to laugh. Like maybe a little oversight in my creativity there. My bad.
I can't do it with General Quast, that's for sure. I was lucky enough to get a Q drop in, so
I love it, man.
Do you want to take responsibility for not only plugging your stuff, but also any of Stormy Patriot Joe's things, since he wasn't able to make it to the end with us?
Sure, man. If I can remember all of his stuff off the top of my head. Obviously, you can find he and I tomorrow night over on Badlands Media at 9:00 for Eye of the Storm. You can find Stormy over on Substack. He's got his new Substack. He just launched this week. I believe it's at Stormy Patriot Joe on Substack. So it would be Substack, or no, at StormyPatriotJoe.substack.com, I think is the link for Substack. He's on X at True Stormy Patriot Joe. He's also on True Social, I think at Stormy Patriot Joe is that one. And then of course my stuff, you can find me on Twitter at RealAbs1776. True Social is at Absolute1776, and Telegram is t.me/Absolute1776. Also have a Rumble channel, same handle, just search for Absolute1776. You'll find me. It's kind of hard to miss me if you watch Badlands, man. I'm kind of all over the place there. And where it's the 25th. Yeah, August 25th, we're launching a third weekly episode of Eye of the Storm over there. And then I've got a couple new shows coming up over there as well, man. We I did Sports Talk, and we did that one for a hot minute. It was a good show, but me and JB also kind of felt like it wasn't really growing, and that's not necessarily an indictment on the show, but it's like maybe we were a little bit too far out in front of thinking people were going to be coming back to sports just yet. So we're replacing that with a couple shows, and the first one's like a man cave kind of idea. It's going to be sports, guns, prepping, survival, just a bunch of dudes being dudes, slinging shit. And the second one's going to be a music show. So, you guys pay attention to my social media for who's going to be joining me on those shows, when they'll launch, they'll be in the same time slot Sports Talk was. But keep an eye on my social medias for that stuff, man. Sorry, I just prattled on really long right there.
That's all right. Look, you got the floor when you come on the show. You hang out with me like this. I want to hear about everything that you guys are doing. And if you guys haven't seen, I'm sure most of you have, but if you haven't seen Abs's own personal Rumble, his editing skills when it comes to making videos is just about second to none. I'll be honest. I keep hinting to him when we talk that I need lessons. I really want Abs to teach me how to make videos and stuff. So
I appreciate it, man. There are definitely a few folks in this movement I look up to with their editing skills as well. So I appreciate to be considered amongst them, man. It's funny because people see me on Eye of the Storm or podcasting, they assume that's what I do, and I'm shocked at how many people I come across that have no clue that I'm a video editor, and they're like, "Have I seen any of your stuff?" Well, every time you watch Eye of the Storm and you see the intro, I've done a lot of intros for Badlands, a lot of I edit a lot, a lot.
You took that movie, that main movie that Badlands did, and you broke down every single scene.
Yeah, I chopped that bitch up into 27 pieces. It's all up on my Rumble. That movie is easily digestible red pills to sling to your friends. Like, I don't think any clip that I chopped from that movie is longer than 4 or 5 minutes. So it's super easy to, somebody's like, oh, well, Trump said this about Charlottesville. Oh yeah, watch this 2-minute clip. Click, have fun. So yeah, you can find that, and I've got the stuff separated in a playlist on my Rumble too. So the Time and a Seat clips are all in one playlist. The Eye of the Storm clips are in one playlist. All of my creative stuff is in one playlist. All the decodes are in one playlist. So make sure you go check that out if you don't mind, friends. And also, none of my stuff is ever behind a paywall either. So my Substack, my Rumble, none of my stuff. You can always make the choice to subscribe to my Substack with a paid subscription, but you'll never have to pay to see any of my content. Every bit of revenue I make off of this movement is from people being kind enough to throw tips or Rumble rants, stuff like that. What actually pays my bills is my video editing. That's what I get done in the background that pays my bills. But the folks and their support through the shows lately are making it to where I've been able to cut loose a couple editing gigs I had on the side, which has given me more time to create content for the movement, which is what I ultimately love doing. Because the video editing, I'll do stuff for private folks as well, stuff that's not even close to movement related, and I enjoy doing it. But if I can cut those jobs loose and focus solely on this, that's where I want to be, man.
Nice. Well, before everyone gets out of here, I also want to let everybody know that tomorrow, Paul, you met these guys because you came on the one day, but Smart Paul and JF Non will be on tomorrow for their ever evolving date faggotry. So,
oh God, I love those guys.
they've been promoting on their channels since the last time they were on here, T minus so many days, right? They have this crazy big prediction that's supposed to go down. Tomorrow is T minus 0. So, it's not a prediction where they're telling everybody it's going to happen, but they believe that if you're not looking into the future and trying to figure out what's happening, then you're not using all of your brain. It's human to try to predict the future, right? So again, they're not telling anyone it's definitely happening, but they are doing the mental exercise publicly where they are trying to predict what's coming. And I love them for the way that they're doing it, because in my opinion, that's not breaking the rules. They're not going on Twitter and saying, this is what's going to happen. Q told me, God told me, and take it to the bank. No, what they're doing is they're going through the mental exercise of connecting the dots, taking all into account, looking back into his history, and trying to discern what might come next. And I love them for the way that they do it. And I'll tell you what, guys, it's only changed up just a little bit on who they believe is going to give the same message they talked about last time. I'm not going to speak for them, but I talked to them before this show, and you guys are in for a damn treat tomorrow. It is going to be fun, that's for sure. And they're sticking to their guns. They think something's going to happen by tomorrow afternoon. So we're going to find out whether or not we call them fake and gay, or if they hit it the nail on the head this time. So it's going to be fun.
Love it.
Yeah. All right, bro. Well, let me just say thank you quick to a few people. Let me do the pills. First of all, I released the scratching over on pill.net. I dropped my mouse. My mouse not acting right. So Braves Piano gives it a cookie. Hi Joe. I won't be able to stay for the show today. I have volleyball practice soon. We'll catch the replay. Well, Braves Piano, I hope that you see this on the replay. Thank you very much for your cookie. Tikaka, that's a really funny name, gifted 140 gold pills. Thank you very much, Tikaka. And your boy Death with the cookie, the Vincent Fusca, unfazed by what's going on in the background. My thoughts on Vincent Fusca is he's a little bit slow, and I think that he's a rock star. And he definitely just stood there like nothing was happening, and it was very interesting to watch. I don't really know if I have anything more to. What do you think of that, Paul?
Kind of on point. I mean, the guy's a rock star, but he's kind of in his own world too. So there's that. Like he's on his own program, man. That's what's going on there. What was that person's name again? Tikaka? Was Tikaka?
Tikaka. Yeah.
Lake Titicaca. Find out where the hell Titicaca is.
Nicaragua.
Nicaragua.
Agua for my bunghole.
Oh, every now and again I turn into a 12-year-old.
It's completely welcome in the show. Let me see. Did I miss anybody? Sean Joe with 2 cookies. Thank you very much, Sean Joe. And the one Rumble rant we got over there today, it means the world to me. Thank you very, very much. For anybody that's unaware, I didn't actually even put it up today. So for the guys, this was actually asked of me, Abs. There is a Cash App if you wanted to support this show. It was somebody that's never able to catch the live because we do it during the daytime, and they wanted to support the show. So if you do watch it on the replay and you feel the need to want to support the show, first and foremost, I would be very, very grateful. And this is the way that you can do that. So it's just Rambo and Frens at Cash App. But that's why that's there. It was asked of me to do it. And of course I obliged because I am trying to get out of this dumbass job I have, working 70 hours a week doing swing shift. I'm on 2 hours of sleep right now because I worked all night last night. Oh, speaking of that, Abs, next week is the 1 week where I'm day shift during Thursday.
Roger.
So we're gonna skip next week, but then I'll have 3 in a row after that.
Roger.
All right. Yeah, next week I do day shift Monday through Thursday. 12-hour shifts. That is why I appreciate the support. I would love to be able to give all of my time to this movement, but that's that. Abs, it's always an honor, dude. Can't wait to do it again. I will hopefully be able to catch you guys tonight. If not, I will definitely watch the replay. That's for sure.
Awesome, man. Tomorrow night, you mean?
Brother. What'd you say?
You said tonight. I said tomorrow night, you mean?
Oh, it's tomorrow night? Sorry.
Yeah. It's still Thursday, brother. Don't do that. I was over here like, oh shit, I haven't done anything for the show yet.
Just go to Badlands and
You
check.
just gave me like
That's
a
what I
panic
do.
attack over here, bro.
I just go to Badlands and see what's on, and I usually stop in if I can on whoever it is. So, all right, dude. That was awesome. I'll catch you guys next time. Please tell Joe that we said thank you.
Will do, man.
All right, dude. Much love.
Right back at
Peace.
you, brother. Thanks again, man.
Yep. Bye bye.